Chapter 3380. Although he is also a great perfection sovereign, he gives me a great sense of crisis. Pei Tianhong transmitted. I have the same feeling too. Moreover, the sense of danger he brings to me should be even stronger than the sense of danger old Pei feels. Wang Changyuan also transmitted. Because his strength wasn't as strong as Pei Tianhong. The sense of crisis was naturally stronger than Pei Tianhong. What? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were shocked. Not to mention Wang Changyuan, even Pei Tianhong could feel a sense of crisis. Who was Pei Tianhong? He was once the overlord of the Western continent, the strongest existence in the sky-cloud boundary. How strong was the person who could make him feel a sense of crisis? The white-eyed wolf secretly said, "You haven't seen them before." No impression at all. Pei Tianhong transmitted. Could it be that they aren't from the sky-cloud boundary? The white-eyed wolf was bewildered. I don't know. Pei Tianhong shook his head and then sighed, perhaps it is as you said. The sky-cloud boundary isn't as simple as it seems. Qin Feiyang and the other two were secretly communicating with the white-eyed wolf. The golden-clothed youth and the flame-clothed old man were also silent. The flame-clothed old man's eyes were calm. However, the golden-clothed youth's eyes gradually became sharp as he looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and cupped his hands. May I ask who the two of you are? Idlers. The flame-clothed old man smiled faintly. He looked harmless and seemed to have no ill intentions. However, Qin Feiyang felt a cold intent from the flame-clothed old man. He was a little confused. He clearly looked like a harmless person. Why would he give him such a chill? Let me experience how strong your purple gold dragon bloodline is. Boom! The golden-clothed youth suddenly spoke. As his voice fell, a law of thunder erupted. It turned into lightning and pounced towards Qin Feiyang. Both Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf's expressions changed when they heard the golden-clothed young man's words. The other party actually knew about his bloodline power. How could this be possible? Ever since he had taken Qin Baishan's medicinal pills in the Sea of Heavenly Dragons, Qin Feiyang's bloodline power had not changed back. His divine dragon aura had been concealed, and the color of his blood was the same as an ordinary person's. Not to mention outsiders, even Qin Feiyang himself would not be able to tell that it was purple gold dragon blood if he did not know in advance. However, the golden-robed young man in front of him had directly identified the power of his bloodline. Why was that? At the same time, Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong also looked at the golden-clothed youth and Qin Feiyang in shock. Purple gold dragon blood? What was going on? The purple gold dragon blood, people of their status naturally knew that it was the unique bloodline power of the purple gold divine dragon. Why did the golden-clothed youth say that to Qin Feiyang? Could it be that Qin Feiyang's bloodline power was the purple gold dragon blood? That was not right. Whether it was as an enemy in the past or as an ally now, they had all seen Qin Feiyang's blood. It was the bloodline power of an ordinary person, and it was completely different from the purple gold dragon blood. Why aren't you protecting him? The white-eyed wolf shouted. Pei Tianhong and the other man quivered and came back to their senses. They immediately stood in front of Qin Feiyang and sent forth a palm strike. The surging lightning-like power was immediately shattered into pieces. Seeing their actions, the golden-clothed youth could not help but frown. The old man in red noticed the change in the golden-clothed youth's expression and immediately smiled. He took a step forward, looked at Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan, and said in a hoarse voice, "This is just an ordinary spar, please step aside and watch quietly." Spar? Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other. With the golden-clothed youth's aggressive aura, it did not seem like he was here to spar. Seeing that the two were indifferent, the old man in red was not angry. He laughed and said, "This old man has an old habit, I never repeat a sentence twice. As his voice fell, he took a step forward and instantly disappeared. This is, Qin Feiyang, Wang Changyuan, and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. It was the supreme profundity of the time law, instant time. No wonder even Pei Tianhong felt threatened. It turned out that he had mastered the supreme profundity of the strongest law. In the next instant, the old man in red appeared in front of Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan. He raised his old hands and slapped them. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other and snorted. They raised their arms at the same time, and the time law and lightning law rolled out as they threw a punch. Hee hee, but the old man in red only laughed in a hoarse voice. The time law appeared in the palm of his left hand. The power law appeared in the palm of his right hand. Then, the old man in red's left hand met Pei Tianhong's fist. His right hand met Wang Changyuan's fist. Boom! The fist and palm met in an instant. The three of them took a step back at the same time. Although they were evenly matched, the expressions on the three people's faces were as different as heaven and earth. The old man in red was as calm as ever. However, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were shocked. "Old Wang, what's wrong with you?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at Wang Changyuan in surprise. Although the three of them did not activate their profundity of the law and were purely using the power of the law, Wang Changyuan's lightning law had already reached the level of supreme profundity. But at this moment, facing the old man's power law, it was actually evenly matched. Looking at Wang Changyuan again. If it was in the past, facing Qin Feiyang in the white-eyed wolf's questions, he would definitely answer immediately. But this time, he seemed to have not heard anything as he stared at the old man in red, his eyes filled with disbelief. The old man in red looked at Pei Tianhong and the white-eyed wolf and said with a faint smile, "Then now, can you quietly stay by the side and watch the battle?" The two of them looked at each other and decisively returned to Qin Feiyang's side. "What's going on?" The white-eyed wolf transmitted his voice. Pei Tianhong secretly said, "Not good, this person not only grasped the supreme profundity of the time law, but also grasped the supreme profundity of the power law." "What? The supreme profundity of the power law?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf turned pale with fright. A person grasping two supreme profundities, other than the white-eyed wolf, they had never seen such a person in the sky cloud realm. No wonder Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan felt a sense of danger from this person. No wonder Wang Changyuan was unable to defeat him. It turned out that the other party's power law had also reached the supreme profundity level. "Young master, these two people's identities are definitely not simple. You must be careful." Pei Tianhong transmitted his voice, his tone was extremely solemn. Not to mention Qin Feiyang, even he, the former overlord of the Western continent, had never heard of anyone in the sky cloud realm who grasped two supreme profundities. He couldn't help but doubt. Were these two people in front of him really from the sky cloud realm? "I will." Qin Feiyang let out a long breath. Whether it was the old man's strength or his understanding of the purple gold dragon blood, it had exceeded his expectations. If there was no accident, these two people must be related to Ice Dragon. Even if they weren't related, they must know each other. Because in the sky cloud realm, only Ice Dragon knew that he possessed the power of the purple gold dragon blood. Moreover, he had just fought with the fire dragon, and these two people appeared now. Was this a coincidence? In fact, what Qin Feiyang was most concerned about was that inexplicable emotion. The moment the young man in golden clothes attacked him, not only did the killing intent in his heart become stronger than before, it even gave birth to an inexplicable disgust. Wait. Could it be because of the power of the bloodline? He had the purple gold dragon blood, and if the other party also had the power of the divine dragon blood, in other words, this young man in golden clothes might not be a human, but a divine dragon. But that wasn't right. When he faced dragons in the past, he had the pure divine dragon blood, but at that time, he didn't have this kind of emotion. Why was that? And at this moment, he didn't feel the aura of a divine dragon from the two people. Rumble. Gotcha. Just as Qin Feiyang was pondering, the young man in golden clothes appeared again, and the law of thunder rolled out. Whether it was the void behind the young man in golden clothes or above his head, it all turned into a sea of thunder. Thunder and lightning roared in the sky like giant pythons, and the heavenly might rolled and shattered in all directions. Chapter 33-81. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. Qin Feiyang murmured. He activated the law of war, and his battle intent soared. Because his cultivation level was lower than the golden-robed young man's, he needed the law of war to support himself. Although the law of war could not make up for the difference in cultivation level, his physical body and mind would be greatly improved, and he would not be easily crushed. Then, the fifth profundity of the law of thunder appeared. A strand of lightning power floated in the middle of the lightning pool. Although it looked inconspicuous, it exuded a great power, as if it was a god. Thunder crash, the golden-robed young man muttered. He pointed his finger in the air, and the lightning power that surged toward Qin Feiyang also turned into a huge lightning pool. It was also the fifth profundity, thunder crash. Boom! The two profundities collided. A destructive aura suddenly rolled out in all directions with the two of them as the center. Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. The difference in cultivation level could not be made up for. However, with the law of war in his body, he did not suffer any serious injuries. He looked at the golden-robed young man, who was standing in front of him calmly, and there was a trace of disdain on his face. Boom! Clang! Looking at the golden-robed young man, Qin Feiyang did not know why, but the hatred in his heart grew stronger and stronger. It could even be described as uncontrollable, and he could not suppress it even if he wanted to. This made him very confused. It was the first time they had met, and there was no deep hatred between them. Why would he have such inexplicable emotions? It was also because of this emotion that he could not control the killing intent in his heart. The law of thunder and the law of slaughter's fifth profundities were activated. The heavenly power shook all directions, and a murderous aura shrouded the world. At this moment, he was like a combination of the god of slaughter and the god of thunder. Endless lightning power roared around his body, and the murderous aura surged. Boom! No matter what the reason was, since he had such an emotion in his heart, he had to deal with it with all his strength. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the two profundities charged toward the golden-robed young man with a destructive aura. But for this, the golden-robed young man still had a look of contempt. It seemed that he did not take Qin Feiyang seriously at all. It was more like fighting with Qin Feiyang was a waste of time. If that's all you have, then you're destined to fall here today. Even his tone was filled with disdain. Two great fifth profound skills were instantly revealed. The laws of thunder and the laws of metal. Rumble. The four profound meanings clashed once again. Qin Feiyang spat out another mouthful of blood. His feet kept retreating, and his face was somewhat pale. If it were anyone else, they would have already collapsed to the ground with heavy injuries. Because of the difference in cultivation level, it was enough to crush him. Fortunately, Qin Feiyang had mastered the law of war. Although the five profundities of the laws of war didn't have terrifying destructive power, the enhancement of the physical body and mind was something that other laws could never compare with. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that if both sides were equally matched in strength, then the person who possessed the laws of war would basically be in an invincible position. What a boring battle. Let's end it. The golden-robed young man shook his head. Boom! Clang! As the fifth profundities of the laws of thunder and the laws of metal appeared, another new profundity appeared. It was the laws of sword. The fifth profundity of the three great laws emitted a world-destroying divine might as it madly attacked Qin Feiyang. Boring, Qin Feiyang muttered. He was really being looked down upon. Swoosh! Suddenly, he raised his head and stared at the golden-clothed youth. Cold light surged in his eyes as he shouted, "Do you think it'll end just because you say so?" The law of karma roared out. A five-colored divine lotus instantly appeared, and a monstrous divine might rolled out in all directions. It's just a small cultivation level difference. What are you so proud of? If you're so capable, then suppress your cultivation level to the level of a low-level dominator. Let's fight to the death. Let's see if I can take your dog life or not. Qin Feiyang was seething with anger. He originally had a lingering disgust for this person in his heart, but this person was good. From the beginning to the end, this person had an overbearing and disdainful attitude. He really didn't understand. What was there to be proud of with such an attitude of bullying the weak? Although this person's talent might be better than Yi Tian's, his character was really too inferior. However, there was no other way. The world was so big. Not everyone could be like Yi Tian. There would always be some self-righteous and arrogant people. Rumble. Clang. Accompanied by a loud sound, the law of slaughter and the law of thunder's fifth profundity appeared together. Qin Feiyang's eyes were like torches, revealing a sharp light. As he waved his hand, the three great profundities immediately shattered the sky and attacked the golden-clothed youth's three great profundities. In just an instant, the six great profundities collided. It was like a comet colliding, and the world immediately fell into a rumbling sound. After activating the law of karma, it was obviously different. The law of karma was the strongest law. Although the golden-clothed youth's cultivation level was higher than Qin Feiyang's by a small cultivation level, and he couldn't be instantly killed like at the same cultivation level, he still had the ability to fight. In the end, the six great profundities shattered at the same time in the void, destroying everything. However, the fifth great profundity wasn't the great profundity. Although it was the great profundity, it could easily crush even if it was detected by someone of a higher cultivation level. However, although Qin Feiyang had shattered the golden-clothed youth's three great profundities, he also suffered a backlash and spat out a mouthful of old blood. Is the great profundity the only thing that can truly fight above one's cultivation level? The white-eyed wolf frowned. That's for sure. Although the five great profundities of the great profundity can crush profundities of the same cultivation level, it's still a bit difficult to fight above one's cultivation level. Pei Tianhong nodded. Then does that mean that little Qin Zi has no chance of winning? The white-eyed wolf asked. Maybe. But not necessarily. After all, there are too many possibilities with the young master. Let's just focus on watching the battle. There's no point in worrying and we can't help. Pei Tianhong sighed. The old man in the red robe was too strong. Even if he and Wang Changyuan joined forces, they might end up in a situation where both sides would be injured. No one knew if the fire dragon's minions were still in the Yin demon land. It would be best if there weren't, but what if there were? Then, when they and the old man in the red robe were both injured, wouldn't the fire dragon's minions be like meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered? In short, before the horsetail whisk returned, everything was done with extreme caution. At the same time, opposite, the old man in the red robe and the young man in gold didn't seem surprised when they saw Qin Feiyang activate the law of karma. It was as if they already knew in advance. The law of karma, the law of slaughter, the law of thunder, and the law of war. Unfortunately, you haven't comprehended the fifth profundity of the law of war. It's even more unfortunate that I'm not a gentleman. I won't suppress my cultivation level like the others. So, whether the battle ends or not, it's up to me. The young man in gold looked at Qin Feiyang, the contempt in his eyes becoming more and more obvious. As he said the last sentence, a destructive aura suddenly emerged from his body. This destructive aura was completely different from an ordinary aura. It was as if a god of destruction had descended. The surrounding void and earth collapsed crazily, turning into chaos. Furthermore, gray flames were rising from the golden-robed young man's body. The destructive aura emitted by these flames was even more terrifying. This is the law of destruction. Pei Tianhong's eyes widened as he exclaimed. The law of destruction. Frenzy and Qin Feiyang were shocked. He was actually also a monster who had grasped the strongest law of destruction. But the white-eyed wolf's eyes were glowing with green light. Drooling, he stared at the young man in gold and couldn't help but ask, "Young man, have you comprehended the supreme profundity of the law of destruction?" The young man in gold was slightly taken aback and looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. What did he mean? However, when his eyes met the white-eyed wolf's, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. What was with this wolf cub's eyes? Why did it feel like he was looking at a delicious cake? Chapter 3382. Cake. More than that. In the eyes of the white-eyed wolf, he was just a piece of delicious fat meat. Because the current white-eyed wolf wasn't interested in anything except for the strongest law. If the golden-clothed youth dared to say that he had comprehended the ultimate law, he would definitely become the white-eyed wolf's target. To be honest, although the golden-clothed young man was able to suppress Qin Feiyang, when faced with an ingrate, even if his cultivation was a stage higher than Qin Feiyang's, he would still only be oppressed by the ingrate. The supreme profundities of the three supreme laws of nature. Was that a joke? I'm asking you a question, have you comprehended the ultimate law? The white-eyed wolf urged. Why do you care? The golden-clothed youth raised his eyebrows and looked back at Qin Feiyang. He said with contempt, I have heard of your deeds. During the exchange on Sky Cloud Island, you killed the genius disciple of Bloodhall. You even know about this? Qin Feiyang frowned. It seemed that the two people in front of him must be from Sky Cloud Realm. Otherwise, how could they know about this? Although the situation at that time was very similar to our current situation, and the genius disciple of Bloodhall had a higher cultivation than you, there is one difference. He didn't master the strongest law. But I do. The golden-clothed youth smiled proudly. The power of destruction surged, accompanied by a roar, and a grey giant beast appeared out of nowhere. This giant beast looked very strange. It had a dragon head, phoenix tail, Qilin body, bull horns on its head, and hair like a lion. The most peculiar thing was that it had 9 pairs of grey wings on its back. It was hard to describe its appearance, but the power of destruction it exuded was extremely terrifying. Be careful, this is the 5th ultimate law of destruction, Destruction Beast. Pei Tianhong's eyes were heavy. Indeed, as the golden-clothed youth said, Qin Feiyang and Frenzy were able to suppress the young geniuses of Bloodhall on Sky Cloud Island because no one had mastered the strongest law. But it was different now. The other party had also mastered the strongest law. Furthermore, Qin Feiyang's cultivation was even lower than the golden-robed youth's. In this battle, Qin Feiyang's chances of winning were slim. It's over. The golden-robed young man raised his head and smiled. The 5th profundity of the law of gold, the law of sword, and the law of lightning were all activated. The 4 profound super skills were like 4 gods, emitting an aura that made people despair. Then, with a wave of the golden-clothed young man's hand, the 4 ultimates immediately charged toward Qin Feiyang, especially the destruction behemoth. It was like a peerless beast roaring in the sky, its ferocious might shaking the heavens. White-eyed wolf, Pei Tianhong, and Wang Chongyuan's hearts jumped to their throats. How could he make up for the difference of a single realm? If they were at the same level, they believed that Qin Feiyang would definitely be able to defeat the golden-clothed youth with his battle experience and battle awareness. However, in the face of an opponent whose cultivation was higher than his, battle experience and battle awareness were of little use. This was because the other party could completely ignore all of this and directly crush him with his strength. Looking at Qin Feiyang again. He stared at the 4 profound super skills, his eyes flickering. Was there no pressure? No. Of course there was. If it was anyone else facing such a powerful golden-clothed youth, they would feel pressure. The key was whether or not one dared to face it bravely. This was something that Qin Feiyang definitely had. He had faced so many strong enemies before. Not to mention the young people of the same generation, even if it was the older generation, he had never been afraid. Battle, especially in such a battle, he would never be afraid and would never panic. Boom! A monstrous murderous intent erupted. Heaven and earth instantly turned into a sea of murderous intent. A blood-colored barrier suddenly appeared around Qin Feiyang's body. That was right. This was the slaughter zone. Although there was no fresh blood to absorb now, the power of the slaughter zone had always been stronger than the kill word tactic. Moreover, because he had comprehended the 5th profound super skill of the law of slaughter, the kill word tactic had now evolved into a supreme level skill. As such, even without superposition, the power of the slaughter zone itself was much stronger than a supreme level skill of the law of slaughter. Is this the legendary slaughter zone? Seeing Qin Feiyang activate the slaughter zone, a strange light flashed across the eyes of the fiery old man and the golden-haired youth at the same time. They had long heard that the slaughter zone was extremely powerful, but they did not know to what extent. Clang! Qin Feiyang wields his blood-colored sword and directly slashes out furiously. Looking down on him. Fine. Let's see who will have the last laugh. With one slash, chaos was torn apart. The lightning formed by the 5th profound super skill of the law of thunder was shattered on the spot. This was the original power of the slaughter zone. The lethality of the slaughter zone was above that of a supreme level skill of the law of slaughter. The 5th profound super skill of the law of slaughter was simply unable to block the sharpness of the slaughter zone. Back then, the battle with Nie Xiang was completely because the kill word tactic had not been upgraded to a supreme level skill of the law of slaughter. That was why it was so difficult. Just like later on, when Qin Feiyang comprehended the 5th profound super skill of the law of slaughter, the kill word tactic evolved to a supreme level skill of the law of karma. Even if he only activated the kill word tactic, he would still be able to crush Nie Xiang. Needless to say, the slaughter zone. In other words, with the original power of the slaughter zone, he could definitely fight those of a higher level. However, it was not as exaggerated as the supreme profound super skill of the law of slaughter. It could only fight those of a higher level. Clang! With another slash, the 5th profound super skill of the law of sword was also directly disintegrated. After 2 consecutive powerful counterattacks, the golden-haired youth's face turned pale. He seemed to have underestimated this person. Clang! With a loud sound, the 3rd slash was unleashed. The 5th profound super skill of the law of gold was also shattered. However, although the slaughter zone was powerful enough, the golden-haired youth's cultivation was still higher than Qin Feiyang's. Qin Feiyang counterattacked 3 times in a row. With a crack, the blood-colored sword in his hand had already shattered and was on the verge of shattering. It's not up to you to decide how to end the battle. Qin Feiyang roared. Without the support of fresh blood, the shattered blood-colored sword could not be repaired. However, he did not retreat at all. With the blood-colored sword in his hand, he slashed at the destructive beast formed by the 5th profound super skill of the law of destruction. The golden-haired youth raised his eyebrows. It was for no other reason than Qin Feiyang's confident attitude that made him very unhappy. Roar! The destructive beast roared like thunder and it was deafening. Its body was 10,000 feet long and it was like a huge mountain. When it opened its bloody mouth, it seemed to be able to swallow half the sky. Boom! One man and one beast, one with a shocking destructive power and the other with a monstrous murderous aura, collided fiercely and there was a loud explosion. Crack! The blood-colored sword was shattered. Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood. The destructive beast raised its huge claws and slapped at the slaughter zone. The slaughter zone shattered on the spot and Qin Feiyang was sent flying. His body was badly mutilated and fresh blood flowed out. That's it. The golden-robed young man looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. He was not as powerful as the rumors said. At most, he was only one level higher. That's it. Fuck you. You're too arrogant. If little Qin Zi could absorb fresh blood now, he would kill you in a second. The white-eyed wolf roared, unconvinced. Absorb fresh blood, the golden-robed young man murmured. The white-eyed wolf rolled its eyes and looked at the golden-robed young man seriously. Back to the topic. Have you comprehended the supreme profound super skill of the law of destruction? Are you tired of it? The golden-robed young man raised his eyebrows. So what if he had comprehended it? So what if he had not? Could it be that he could snatch it away? What a lunatic. The white-eyed wolf's ability to plunder the power of the law had not been made public yet. Therefore, not many people knew about it. If the golden-robed young man knew about it, he would definitely not think so. He would even keep a distance from the white-eyed wolf at all times. What a joke. How could he afford to offend such a ruthless person? The white-eyed wolf sized up the golden-robed young man and shook its head. Look at how flustered and exasperated you are. You probably haven't comprehended the supreme profound super skill. What a pity. Why do you always care about this? As Qin Feiyang's companion, shouldn't you be more concerned about his safety? The golden-robed young man was extremely angry. What the hell was this? It was really inexplicable. Concerned about him? The white-eyed wolf grimaced and looked at Qin Feiyang, who had been blasted into the distance, and said jokingly, "You'd better be more concerned about yourself. Little Qin Zi's strength is not that simple." The golden-robed young man was stunned. The fiery-robed old man also looked a little surprised when he heard this. Did he still have some tricks up his sleeve? Chapter 3383. At the same time, Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong also turned to look at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. Young master hasn't used his full strength yet. The white-eyed wolf looked at the two speechlessly, then said, "It's understandable that little Wang Zi doesn't know, but little Pei Zi, it's not normal that you don't know." Huh? Pei Tianhong was stunned and looked at it suspiciously. "It seems that your memory is really bad. But it can't be helped. Who asked you to be so old?" The white-eyed wolf shook its head and bared its teeth. "Do you still remember the restrictions that the Blood Hall placed on little Qin Zi and little Lunatic during the exchange conference?" Restrictions? Pei Tianhong was stunned. Suddenly, a look of realization appeared on his face. "You mean 3,000, shu." The white-eyed wolf made a shushing gesture and said, "Keep a low profile, keep a low profile. Don't say it out loud." That's right. The two of them were talking about the 3,000 clones. This was Qin Feiyang's trump card. During the exchange conference, even if Qin Feiyang hadn't comprehended the fifth profound of the law of slaughter, he could have easily killed Nie Xiang if he hadn't been restricted by the Blood Hall. Yes, keep a low profile. Pei Tianhong nodded and looked at the golden-robed young man with a trace of mockery in his eyes. Arrogant. Young man, continue. Otherwise, you won't have a chance later. What are you talking about? Wang Changyuan looked at the white-eyed wolf and Pei Tianhong suspiciously. Children shouldn't interrupt when adults are talking. The white-eyed wolf glared at him. Ah. Wang Changyuan was stunned. He's still a child. Brother, can you not be so funny? In terms of age, he's old enough to be your ancestor. On the other side, the old man in red and the golden-robed young man looked at the white-eyed wolf and Pei Tianhong suspiciously. The white-eyed wolf looked at the two of them and sneered. I thought you knew us like the back of your hand, but now, you don't even know little Qin Zi's tricks. It seems that you're just bluffing. The golden-robed youth raised his eyebrows. That was right. They really didn't know much about Qin Feiyang and the others. It wasn't because he couldn't find out, but because he wasn't interested. Because in their opinion, it was a waste of time to inquire about the situation of Qin Feiyang and the others. In short, he had never put Qin Feiyang and the others in his eyes. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying aura erupted. The white-eyed wolf turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang swallowed a divine life pill and walked over step by step. Immediately, the white-eyed wolf lifted the corner of his mouth and retracted his gaze. He looked at the golden-robed young man and said jokingly, "The show is about to begin. Prepare for despair." In fact, it was also very conflicted. Should he snatch this person's law of destruction? Even though he hadn't comprehended the supreme profundity, as long as he could fuse with the destruction law, he would be able to step into the sovereign realm. However, he was a little unwilling to fuse with it. Even though he could step into the sovereign realm, he still had to comprehend the supreme profundity on his own. With the white-eyed wolf's character, he would definitely run away faster than anyone if he was asked to drink and make trouble. However, it was a little too difficult for him to comprehend the supreme profundity. It wasn't that he didn't have the ability or talent. In fact, his talent wasn't bad. When he was cultivating seriously, even Qin Feiyang felt great pressure. It was purely because the white-eyed wolf didn't want to comprehend it at all. It was too troublesome and tiring. Anyway, his philosophy of life now was that if he could pick up something ready-made, why should he work hard? However, it would be a pity if he didn't snatch it. After all, it was an ultimate law. An ultimate law was something that could only be encountered and not sought. Therefore, this conflicted feeling made him a little irritated. Prepare for despair, at the same time. Hearing the white-eyed wolf's words, the golden-robed young man muttered and looked up at Qin Feiyang with a trace of doubt in his eyes. Did he really have this ability? However, since the white-eyed wolf was so confident, he couldn't be careless. Otherwise, if he were to fail miserably, he would become a joke to his clansmen. Rumble, Qin Feiyang stepped on the air, step by step. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and his long black hair danced behind him. His aura became more and more terrifying. Especially the power of law around him. Thunder law, slaughter law, karma law, the power of the three laws turned into gusts of wind that roared around him. From afar, he looked like a war god returning. Just his aura alone made people want to look up to him. Your Highness, be careful. The old man in the fire robe sized up Qin Feiyang at this moment, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink. He transmitted his voice to the golden-robed young man. What's wrong? Even you feel the pressure? The golden-robed young man frowned. He's just a small stage dominator. How can he give me any pressure? But your Highness is different. Your cultivation is only one small stage higher than his. The old man in the fire robe thought. What do you mean by one small stage higher than him? Do you think the difference of one small stage is small? The golden-robed young man seemed a little angry. No, no, no. That's not what I meant. If it were someone else, the difference of one small stage is like the difference between heaven and earth. With your Highness's strength, you can easily crush them. But the person in front of us is Qin Feiyang. Although we don't know him well enough, to be able to make such achievements in the sky cloud realm, he shouldn't have an undeserved reputation. The old man in the fire robe thought. Enough, enough. Don't belittle yourself by praising others. He's just a trash from the lower realm. What's so great about him? If it weren't for the Dominator weapon, anyone in the Sky Cloud realm would be able to kill him 1,000 times over. The golden-robed young man snorted. Hearing this, the old man in the fire robe couldn't help but smile bitterly. Such words weren't appropriate. But he didn't say anything more. Although His Highness's talent was good, he had never come out to gain experience. His temperament wasn't mature yet. If he could really suffer in the hands of Qin Feiyang, it would be a good thing. As for his safety, the old man in the fire robe didn't think about it. Because he was confident that as long as he was here, no one could hurt His Highness. Bluff. The golden-robed young man looked at Qin Feiyang. A cold light burst out of his eyes. The fifth profound behemoth appeared in an instant. Its ferocious aura surged as it roared at Qin Feiyang. I see that your character is very impetuous. You probably don't come out much. Now I'll teach you a truth. There's always someone better than you. Never underestimate others, even if their cultivation is not as good as yours. Qin Feiyang said. Do I need you to teach me? The golden-robed young man flew into a rage out of humiliation. The law of thunder, the law of gold, and the law of sword were also activated. With the power to destroy the world, they charged at Qin Feiyang. This is for your own good. A person like you is too pampered. If you don't experience the cruel beating of society, you won't understand the way to survive in this world. As Qin Feiyang spoke, one figure after another appeared behind him. Each of them looked exactly like Qin Feiyang. It wasn't just their looks. Their cultivation and aura were also exactly the same. There was no difference at all. 3,000 clones. Clones. The golden-robed young man was taken aback. In the past, whenever Qin Feiyang activated 3,000 clones, people would think that they were just clones. At first, they didn't care. But when they clashed, they realized that things weren't so simple. No, they don't seem to be clones. The old man in the fire robe noticed and hurriedly messaged, Your Highness, don't be careless. Humph. The golden-robed young man snorted, apparently very dissatisfied with the old man's kind reminder. Clones. If you think so, then you're not far from death. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. To be honest, he was also looking forward to the power of the 3,000 clones. Because ever since he stepped into the ruler realm, he hadn't activated 3,000 clones. This was the first time. Get ready to watch a good show. The white-eyed wolf yelled. If it was given a small gong, it would really look like a street juggler. Pei Tianhong smiled. Wan Changyuan was a little suspicious. Although Qin Feiyang had activated 3,000 clones when he fought against Yi Tian in the eastern continent, he wasn't very clear about the specific situation. Besides, at that time, Qin Feiyang was only in the imperishable realm. Chapter 3384. An imperishable realm cultivator wouldn't be a threat to a sovereign realm expert even if he activated 3,000 clones. But it was different now. Qin Feiyang's cultivation had already reached the initial stage of the sovereign realm. He had already comprehended the fifth profundity of the karma law, slaughter law, and lightning law. Not to mention the younger generation of the sky cloud boundary, even among the older generation, Qin Feiyang's current strength could be considered average. Watch a good show. When the golden-clothed youth heard the white-eyed wolf's words, the hostility between his brows became thicker. That's right. You have to open your eyes and watch a good show. Watch how I trample on the people you trust and make them beg for mercy like a dog. In the blink of an eye. Boom. The fifth profundity of the destruction law, lightning law, metal law, and sword law had already arrived in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes shone with a cold light. The same was true for the 3,000 clones. Their eyes were overflowing with killing intent. Kill. Suddenly. The 3,000 clones had a tacit understanding and shouted at the same time. The Karma Law, Lightning Law, and Slaughter Law were all activated. What? The fire-robed elder's expression changed. The golden-clothed youth was also dumbfounded. The clones could activate the profundities of the laws. That's not right. How could there be such a thing? 3,000 clones, each with 3/5 profundities. 3,000 was a total of 9,000. This formation was shocking. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The other party must have used some trick to create an illusion. That's right. That's it. The golden-clothed youth comforted himself. But soon, he was dumbfounded again. Rumble. Following a series of earth-shattering explosions, the 9,000 profundities turned into a huge wave and surged toward the other side. Although the golden-clothed youth's cultivation was higher than Qin Feiyang's, although he also grasped the strongest law, although he was capable of crushing a lesser-level ruler, one must know that there was a prerequisite to crushing a lesser-level ruler. The other party's numbers didn't exceed his limit. But now, 3,000 clones, 9,000 profundities. It was equivalent to 3,000 Qin Feiyang. This number far exceeded the golden-robed young man's limit. Moreover, this was not a doppelganger like the golden-robed young man had imagined. It was an incarnation. Whether it was strength or means, it was exactly the same as Qin Feiyang's original body. 9,000 profound meanings gathered together like a ferocious beast. Wherever it went, nothing could stand in its way. Crack. With a boom, the laws of thunder, laws of sword, laws of metal, and even the laws of destruction shattered on the spot. It was like an ant facing an elephant, unable to retaliate at all. Puff. The golden-robed young man spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was shaken to the point of retreating. His face was filled with disbelief. How could they be so powerful? Could it be that they really weren't clones? If it wasn't a clone, then what was it? Your so-called strength is nothing more than your family background. However, my strength comes from myself. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. 9,000 profound meanings rushed towards the golden-clothed young man like a torrent. The golden-robed young man steadied his body and clenched his fists. Qin Feiyang's words were rather obvious. He was implying that the golden-robed young man was relying on his family background to be arrogant and despotic. In other words, he was indirectly saying that the golden-robed young man was a good-for-nothing. Of course, the golden-robed young man would not be convinced. Have you ever seen a good-for-nothing young man reach the sovereign realm at such a young age? Although this was definitely related to the nurturing of his family, such an achievement was proof of his talent and ability. Calling him a good-for-nothing young man? That would be an insult to his character. However, although the golden-robed young man was furious, his heart was filled with despair. 9,000 profound meanings. How could he block it? Unless he was a sovereign at the perfection sovereign realm or a sovereign at the perfection sovereign realm who had grasped a supreme profound meaning. Are you panicking? As expected, you still have to experience the vicious beating of society to understand the cruelty of the world and your own weight. The white-eyed wolf looked mockingly at the golden-robed young man. If you were a sovereign at the perfection sovereign realm or had comprehended a supreme profound meaning, you indeed had the right to be arrogant. You could look down on anyone and no one would say anything. After all, you did have the strength. However, you are just a sovereign at the perfection sovereign realm and do not have a supreme profound meaning. You want to defy the heavens with just the law of destruction. Who gave you the courage? Do you think you are the only genius in this world? Humans can do things in a high-profile manner, but humans must keep a low profile. Rumble. As the torrent of 9,000 profound meanings approached, the fear in the golden-robed young man's heart intensified. Clang. Suddenly, he waved his hand, and a 3-foot-long sharp sword appeared. This was a supreme divine artifact, and its sharpness tore through the sky. Submit to me and I will bestow upon you an opportunity. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up as he looked at the sharp sword and shouted. What opportunity can you bestow upon me? The artifact spirit was disdainful. The land of origin. Qin Feiyang enunciated each word clearly. What? The land of origin. Could the rumors be true and this person has an independent minor realm? The artifact spirit trembled, and his heart was filled with desire. Seeing that the situation was bad, the fire-robed old man looked at the 3-foot-long sharp sword and shouted, "You have to understand who is behind us. If you dare to betray His Highness, you are going against our entire race." His Highness? Race? Qin Feiyang and the others felt a chill in their hearts. The meaning of these two sentences was worth pondering over. Generally speaking, only a race would be called a race. Similarly, only a person with a supreme status in a race would be called His Highness. In other words, behind these two people, there was a race unknown to the world. Wait. Could the golden spear that came out to save the fire dragon be in cahoots with these two? Hearing the fire-robed old man's words, the artifact spirit trembled again, and an indescribable fear emerged in his heart. In an instant, he completely recovered and charged towards Qin Feiyang. Stubborn. Killing intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes, and with a wave of his hand, a dagger appeared. This was the supreme divine artifact that he had snatched from the 10th elder's son. At that time, he did not send it to the Black Tortoise world and had always carried it with him. After all, going deep into the Yin demon land, with a supreme divine artifact by his side, relatively speaking, his safety would be guaranteed. Clang! The dagger instantly recovered and charged towards the 3-foot-long sharp sword. At the same time, he sent a sound transmission to the sword's artifact spirit. What are you afraid of? Although you are a supreme divine artifact, following these people, you are just cannon fodder. You don't know how strong the race behind them is. The sword's artifact spirit said in a deep voice. Although it said so, there was a trace of struggle in its tone. So what if they are strong? Who didn't evolve from a weak person to a strong person? Believe in yourself. Although you follow Qin Feiyang and may be hated by that race, at least you have the hope of evolving into a sovereign divine weapon. The dagger secretly said. Chapter 3385. It had already submitted to Qin Feiyang. It couldn't resist the temptation of the land of origin. The two supreme-level divine artifacts clashed, and their radiance swept out in all directions. However, after hearing Dagger's words, the sword hesitated. At the same time, 9,000 ultimates had already reached the golden-robed young man. The golden-robed young man panicked and a set of armor appeared on his body. It was another supreme-level divine artifact. 2 supreme-level divine artifacts. It was enough to show that this person's status in the tribe was not low. However, even with the protection of the supreme-level divine artifact, he still felt the threat of death. Now is the time to make a contribution. Hurry up and decide. Dagger shouted. Okay. The 3-foot-long sword roared and immediately wiped off the blood contract with the golden-robed young man. Then, like Dagger, it attacked the golden-robed young man. Puff! The blood contract was forcefully wiped off. The golden-robed young man spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. This scene caused Qin Feiyang's group and the fiery-clothed old man to be extremely stunned. Why did it suddenly betray them? There were no signs at all. Little guy, you're a little despicable. The old man in the red robe came back to his senses and looked at Qin Feiyang. He thought that Qin Feiyang had secretly instigated the artifact spirit to betray the golden-robed young man. Crazy. Qin Feiyang didn't bother to respond. He was also very confused. However, he soon realized that Dagger must have secretly instigated it. Not bad. This helped him to get a supreme-level divine artifact. This guy could be sent to the land of origin for cultivation. Because Qin Feiyang didn't really tame this dagger. It was completely willing to follow him. Its purpose was nothing more than to go to the land of origin. He had to admit that the supreme-level divine artifact was indeed powerful. Whether it was in terms of speed or strength, it was extremely terrifying. The two divine artifacts rushed to the golden-robed young man before 9,000 ultimates and slashed at him with full force. With a loud clang, the armor shattered on the spot. Boom! Then 9,000 profound meanings also came crashing down. Without the protection of the armor, the golden-clothed young man was immediately covered in blood and roared in horror. Sigh. I didn't expect to lose to Qin Feiyang just like that. Qin Feiyang, purple gold dragon blood, you really live up to your reputation. The old man in fire robes sighed. He immediately took a step forward and landed in front of the golden-robed young man. With a wave of his old arm, the law of time rolled out and instantly obliterated the 9,000 profound meanings. This was the strength of a perfect sovereign. Furthermore, the fire-robed old man was even more terrifying than other perfect sovereigns. This was because he had mastered two supreme profundities, one of which was the supreme profundity of the law of time. What a pity! How good would it be if he had another ultimate law? The white-eyed wolf stared at the old man and shook his head. The white-eyed wolf had already grasped the law of time, so there was no point in depriving him of it. Retreat. Meanwhile, seeing the old man in fire robes charging over, the dagger exclaimed and immediately rushed to the front of Qin Feiyang with the sharp sword. Qin Feiyang, how was it? The dagger immediately began to ask for rewards. Not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hee hee. The dagger spirit smiled proudly and shouted at the broken armor, why don't you come too? The old man in fire robes was right next to it. How would the armor dare to express its stance? Because the old man in fire robes could easily destroy it with his strength, so it pretended not to hear and silently repaired its damaged body. Qin Feiyang also wanted the armor to betray him. After all, the supreme profundity was already the strongest divine weapon below the sovereign divine weapon. And it was also the most likely to evolve into a sovereign divine weapon. If there was an armor that could evolve into a sovereign divine weapon, it would be like adding wings to a tiger for him. Because now, he already had the ancient castle and the horsetail whisk, these two offensive sovereign divine weapons. If he had an armor, it would be an all-around enhancement. At that time, besides the ice dragon and the small beast, who could kill him? However, he was more thoughtful than the dagger spirit. At this time, it was obviously not the right time to speak. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang's gaze turned and fell on the golden-robed young man. He said lightly, "This is your strength? How disappointing. I thought you were very powerful. Before looking down on others, can't you weigh your own weight first?" The golden-robed young man was like a man of blood. When he heard Qin Feiyang's words, his hands immediately clenched together. Some people were like this. Only the officials were allowed to set fires, but the common people were not allowed to light lamps. When he looked down on you, he felt that it was natural. But if you looked down on him, he would feel very uncomfortable and would feel that his self-esteem had been damaged. You want self-esteem? Fine. First, you have to correct your attitude and respect others first. This way, you can exchange for other people's respect. The world has always been like this. Other than your family, no one would pamper you and spoil you. Do you want to continue? Qin Feiyang asked indifferently. The golden-robed young man took out a divine life pill and put it in his mouth. He stared at Qin Feiyang in silence. This, Qin Feiyang, Pei Tianhong, the white-eyed wolf, and Wang Changyuan looked at the divine life pill with shock in their eyes. That was actually a divine life pill with 9 dragon-shaped core qi. Little Pei, did your blood hall have a pill of this level in the past? The white-eyed wolf asked through voice transmission. No. Not only the Blood Hall, the Demon Hall, Rogue Cultivator Alliance, Sky Hall, and Deity Hall don't have a pill of this level. The best we have is the 7 dragon-shaped core chi. Pei Tianhong thought to himself. It can't be. Where are the clans behind these two hiding? The white-eyed wolf muttered in disbelief. Could it be in the core area? Suddenly, Wang Changyuan asked through voice transmission. The core area, Qin Feiyang, Pei Tianhong, and the white-eyed wolf heard this and couldn't help but look in the direction of the core area with surprise in their eyes. The inner area was basically confirmed to be filled with the power of the Yin demon. And what exactly was the core area and what exactly existed there? No one in the sky cloud realm knew. Could it be that, as Wang Changyuan guessed, the core area wasn't a dangerous place, but a land of its own? The existence of the border area, the central area, and the inner area of the Yin demon land was to protect this place. If this was the case, the golden spear that took the fire dragon into the depths must be related to this clan. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang looked at Dagger and asked, "How long have you been following the 10th Elder's son?" "Not long." "Why?" Dagger was puzzled. "What about you before? Have you been to the core area?" Qin Feiyang asked secretly. "No." Dagger answered. "Then have you seen the sovereign divine weapon that appeared not long ago?" Qin Feiyang asked again. "Not yet. In short, I don't know as much about the fire dragon as you do, so it's useless for you to ask me about it. And I haven't seen the fire dragon interacting with others. It has always been alone in the Yin demon land," Dagger said secretly. Chapter 3386. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded helplessly. It seemed that he could only wait until he entered the core area to solve the mystery in his heart. Wait a minute. Wasn't the timing of this old man and young man's appearance too coincidental? As soon as the battle with the fire dragon ended, they came out to kill him. Logically speaking, the two of them should know the fire dragon. Little Qin Zi, kill him. I want to snatch his law of destruction. The white-eyed wolf's voice suddenly sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang turned and looked at it suspiciously. Although it doesn't have a supreme profound, it's still a supreme law. It'll be a pity if I miss it. The white-eyed wolf transmitted his voice. Are you sure? Qin Feiyang asked. I'm sure. The white-eyed wolf nodded and said to himself, at most, I'll go out less in the future and focus on comprehending the supreme profound. You. Qin Feiyang was seriously doubtful. You don't believe me? Back then, when I cultivated from the god of war to the imperishable stage, did I go out with you? It's only because there's no need to comprehend the laws that I'm so relaxed now. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. All right. Qin Feiyang secretly responded and looked up at the golden-robed young man. Anyway, he had an uncontrollable hatred and killing intent for this person in his heart, so he might as well get rid of him. At the same time, on the opposite side, the old man looked at the golden-robed young man and transmitted his voice, Your Highness, let's stop here. Just like that. The golden-robed young man raised his eyebrows. What else? Qin Feiyang's strength is in front of you. You can't beat him at all. If you continue, you'll only be humiliated more. The old man sighed. The golden-robed young man roared, so even you think that I'm inferior to him? The old man was helpless. How could he answer this? Tell the truth. He was afraid that the golden-robed young man would be hurt. Lie. He didn't want to go against his conscience. The golden-robed youth stared at the old man and snorted, You don't have to answer. I can see everything from your expression. The old man smiled bitterly and comforted, Your Highness, you're very outstanding. Even among the younger generation of the entire clan, you're ranked in the top 10. So, you don't have to feel discouraged because of a single failure. Is this a failure? If we were at the same level, or a level higher than me, I would feel a bit better. However, his cultivation is a level lower than mine, yet I actually lost to him. What is it? Don't tell me you want me to break through to the perfect sovereign realm to wash away your humiliation. Now that I'm a greater mastery sovereign, I'll become a laughingstock if news of me fighting him spreads. They'll say that I'm bullying the weak. Let alone a perfect dominator. I can't afford to lose this face. The golden-robed young man roared hysterically. It seemed that the defeat this time was indeed a big blow to him. But thinking about it, it made sense. From the beginning, he had an insufferably arrogant attitude as if victory was within his grasp, but in the end, he was mercilessly crushed by his opponent. In such a situation, if he was a calm person, it would be fine. Although he would feel depressed, he wouldn't collapse. But for someone as impetuous as the golden-robed youth, once he encountered such a situation, his mentality would definitely explode. Let's go. The future is long. Besides, even if we don't act, there will be others who will deal with him. For example, those brothers and sisters of yours. As for today's battle, I believe that with Qin Feiyang and the others' personalities, they won't spread the news. So, not many people will know about it. The old man in fiery clothes smiled meaningfully. The golden-robed youth's eyes flickered. He nodded and said, "Okay, I'll listen to you. Let's go back." The old man smiled cheerfully. Fortunately, he wasn't hopeless. Otherwise, he would be abandoned by the clan sooner or later. Although the clan they belonged to was very strong, and any one of them was enough to rule the Sky Cloud realm, the survival of the clan was extremely cruel. Competition, benefits, schemes, in short. If you're not careful, you may be eliminated. The result of being eliminated was to fend for yourself. Even for a noble highness, it was the same. The old man looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a hoarse smile, "Young man, this old man admires your strength and means, but the Sky Cloud realm is very dangerous, especially the 4 forbidden areas. There are some things, it's not convenient for this old man to say. In short, you're on your own." After saying that, he waved his hand and swept up the golden-robed youth. He activated the moment of time and rushed toward the inner area. "Thank you for your advice." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and said, "But you come and go as you wish. Is it that easy?" As his voice fell, Pei Tianhong waved his hand and the law of time rolled out like a huge wave roaring in the sky. It turned into a huge boundary and trapped the two. "What do you mean? You still want to kill us?" The old man turned to look at Qin Feiyang and raised his eyebrows. "Isn't that obvious?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and looked at Pei Tianhong. He transmitted his voice, "Old Pei, if you can kill him, I will help you open all the doors of potential." Pei Tianhong was taken aback and hurriedly asked, "Really?" "N." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Good." Pei Tianhong nodded and activated the moment of time. He instantly rushed into the boundary and punched the old man. Needless to say, Wang Chongyuan. As long as there was a chance, he would work hard to perform. So the moment Pei Tianhong attacked, he immediately attacked. "It's just a spar. You actually want to take our lives. You're really ruthless." The old man's eyes flashed with a cold light. With a wave of his hand, the golden-robed youth disappeared. "What?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf frowned. Wasn't it said that the Yin Demon Land couldn't open the space divine object? Why was there no restriction on these two? If you want to fight, then bring it on. The old man in fire robes took a step forward. The time formation and the law of strength surged out and charged towards the two of them without dodging. Boom! The 3 super experts immediately started fighting. The terrifying divine might was earth-shattering, destroying everything. It was not something that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf could interfere. Not only was he unable to interfere, he had to continuously retreat to avoid being affected by the battle. You guys go and help as well. Qin Feiyang looked at the dagger and the sword. With the help of 2 Paragon-level heaven-defying artifacts, his chances of winning were naturally higher. But until now, he had yet to see the true strength of the old man in fire robes. So he didn't know if Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan could kill each other. Hearing that, the dagger and the sword immediately recovered and crazily attacked. As for the barrier that Pei Tianhong had set up, it had already shattered in the first moment of the battle. As for the madman, he had been staying in the inner area, absorbing the Yin demon power and was not affected by the battle outside. Moreover, as the last bit of divine power in his body evolved, he felt that the indescribable change was becoming more and more obvious. Chapter 3387. With the addition of 2 supreme-grade heaven-defying artifacts, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan felt much more relaxed. However, the pressure on the fire-robed elder increased. A supreme-grade heaven-defying artifact was comparable to a paragon dominator. After fully awakening, it was even more powerful. In other words, now, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, and the 2 supreme-grade heaven-defying artifacts were equivalent to 4 paragon dominators. In an instant, the fire-robed elder was forced to retreat. However, he had to admit that he was indeed very powerful. The supreme grade of the law of time and the supreme grade of the law of force. If it was someone else, no one would be able to stop him from escaping when faced with the supreme grade of the law of time. Because instant time was too fast. Although instant time didn't have any destructive power, its extreme speed left countless people in the dust. Unfortunately, Pei Tianhong also grasped instant time. If he wanted to use instant time to escape, Pei Tianhong could definitely keep up with his speed. As for the supreme grade of the law of force, Wang Changyuan's supreme grade of the law of lightning could also compete with him. In addition, with the assistance of the 2 supreme grade heaven-defying artifacts, if there were no accidents, he had no chance of winning. You guys have really angered me. The fire-robed elder was getting angrier and angrier. It was originally just a spar, and the outcome would be decided. However, he didn't expect to kill them now. Until now, he was still blaming Qin Feiyang and the rest, and didn't reflect on himself at all. He didn't think about whether his so-called spar was really a spar. Spars were usually peaceful and didn't go too far. However, their spars were constantly humiliating each other and trampling on each other's dignity. Disregarding everything else, just the attitude of the golden-robed youth towards Qin Feiyang showed no sincerity. To be honest, with the attitude of the fire-robed elder and the golden-robed youth, even someone with a good temper would be angered. They couldn't blame others, they could only blame themselves for being failures. In any case, if you want to spar, you have to take out the attitude of a spar. If you act high and mighty, who cares about you? Do you really think others don't dare to kill you? No one in the outside world would spoil you. So what if I'm angered? Pei Tianhong sneered. If he was alone, he wouldn't be able to defeat the old man. However, with the help of Wang Changyuan and the 2 divine artifacts, as long as they went all out, killing this person would not be difficult. Boom! Not only did he activate the law of time, but he also activated the other 5 laws. Perfect sovereigns all grasped 6 types of laws. Although Pei Tianhong had been using the law of time all this time, he also had profound attainments in the other 5 laws. When he used the 5th profundity of the 5 great laws, his divine might rolled out in all directions. When Wang Changyuan activated the law of lightning, he activated the other 5 laws as well. Although it didn't have an ultimate law, it was still shocking enough. This was especially true for his law of fire. After comprehending the supreme profundity of the law of lightning, he had been comprehending the supreme profundity of the law of fire. But in the past, he hadn't opened the door of potential yet, so he couldn't understand it. However, last time, when he had opened all the doors of potential, his understanding of the ultimate profound had improved tremendously. Now, he had taken the final step and was only missing an opportunity. It was because he had tasted the sweetness of the door of potential that he put in so much effort. 2 ultimate profound, 10 fifth profundities, and 2 supreme-level divine artifacts. Such a lineup could be said to be quite powerful in the sky cloud realm. Even the old man in the fire robe felt a great threat from it. Clang! Without hesitation, the old man waved his hand and a fiery red blade appeared. It was as if molten lava was poured out. Waves of fire swept out in all directions, turning the place into a big furnace. At the same time, a set of armor appeared on his body. It was also fiery red with torrential flames. At this time, the old man was like a fire god that had descended. His entire body exuded a great pressure. They are both supreme-level divine artifacts. The white-eyed wolf frowned. Don't panic. Pei Tianhong and the rest also have supreme-level divine artifacts. So, with just those 2 supreme-level divine artifacts, this old man can't reverse the situation. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. That's true. The white-eyed wolf nodded. His eyes were full of expectation. As long as he defeated the old man, pulled the young man out of the spatial divine artifact, and snatched his destroyer law, he would be able to step into the greater mastery sovereign realm. At that time, if he encountered an ordinary perfect mastery sovereign realm, he could crush them with the 3 ultimate profound. Sure enough, as Qin Feiyang expected, when the old man revealed the 2 supreme-level divine artifacts, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan also immediately took out their own supreme-level divine artifacts. Wang Changyuan's supreme-level divine artifacts, Qin Feiyang had seen them before. They were the Ghost King battle axe and the Golden battle armor. When they fell into Qin Feiyang's hands, Wang Changyuan followed him and Qin Feiyang returned them to him. Pei Tianhong's 2 supreme-level divine artifacts, Qin Feiyang had also seen them during the battle at the Blood Hall. When these 4 supreme-level divine artifacts appeared, including the dagger and the blade, there were a total of 6 supreme-level divine artifacts. Not only was the situation not reversed, but it was even worse for the old man. Rumble. Clang. In the blink of an eye, ultimate divine abilities and supreme-level divine artifacts clashed. An aura that could destroy the world erupted like a volcano, surging in all directions. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, retreated again and again. However, their eyes were locked on the old man in the fire robe. The old man in the fire robe trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood, his face instantly turning pale. At the same time, the Power Upanishad and the fiery red saber were broken too. Seeing Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan's Upanishad divine skills, the dagger, and the other godly divine items coming at him, his old face turned extremely dark. Not only did he underestimate Qin Feiyang's strength, but he also underestimated the guts of Qin Feiyang's group. In his opinion, even if he and the golden-robed youth came with evil intentions, Qin Feiyang and the others wouldn't dare to fight him in a place like the Yin Devil Land. After all, no matter who it was, they would become timid in the Yin Devil Land. However, he didn't expect that this group of people didn't care about that at all and attacked. Swoosh! The old man in the fire robe scanned his surroundings and decisively activated instant time, rushing towards the inner area again. Old Pei, old Wang, we can't let him enter the inner area successfully. Qin Feiyang shouted. Because the old man in the fire robe wasn't afraid of the Yin Devil power. However, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan couldn't resist the corrosion of the Yin Devil power. Even if Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan chased in, they wouldn't be able to last long and would have to retreat. Therefore, once the old man in the fire robe escaped into the inner area, it would be countless times more difficult to kill him. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong's eyes flashed coldly. Qin Feiyang had already promised him that as long as he got rid of this person, he would help him unlock all his potential. How could he miss such a good opportunity? Swoosh! The moment Qin Feiyang finished speaking, Pei Tianhong grabbed the 3-foot-long sharp blade and activated instant time, chasing after him. At the same time, with a wave of his hand, the law of time rolled out and drowned the sky. At the boundary between the inner area and the central area, a huge barrier condensed, directly blocking the way into the inner area. Shatter! Seeing this, the old man in the fire robe ignored Pei Tianhong. The law of time and the law of force appeared and punched the barrier. With a loud bang, the barrier shattered on the spot. But because of this, he paused for a moment. It was at this moment that Pei Tianhong used instant time to step in front of the old man in the fire robe. The 3-foot-long sharp sword in his hand was at full speed, slashing furiously. The sharpness swept through the world. Clang! As sparks flew, a crack appeared on the fiery red armor on the old man in the fire robe. Blood spurted out from the crack. It was enough to see. Not only did this sword break the armor, it also injured the old man in the fire robe. Moreover, the old man in the fire robe was also sent flying by this sword. Behind, Wang Changyuan, the dagger, and the 2 heaven-defying treasures were charging over aggressively. Seeing that the old man in the fire robe was sent flying, Wang Changyuan immediately roared, "Eye of Thunder." The law of thunder's highest profound meaning was instantly activated. Streaks of destructive lightning appeared, and the treasures charged toward the old man in the fire robe. In front, Pei Tianhong sent the old man in the fire robe flying. Without hesitation, he immediately activated his profound meaning ability and charged toward the old man with the 3-foot-long sword. Facing a pincer attack, the old man in the fire robe immediately showed a trace of panic. Go to hell! Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong roared at the same time. The profound meaning ability and the various heaven-defying treasures immediately drowned the old man in the fire robe with a destructive aura. Ah! The old man in the fire robe screamed as well. It seems that even if you have mastered 2 profound meanings, you are not invincible. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. Invincible? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He shook his head and said, looking at the current situation, the only thing that is truly invincible is the Dominator Divine Weapon. Chapter 3388. The reason why he was invincible was because he had yet to face Ice Dragon and Small Beast head-on. From the previous battles, Ice Dragon and Small Beast's strength should have surpassed Dominator weapons. Of course, their specific strength would only be known after facing them head-on. There was no point in guessing now. At the same time, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan revealed a victorious smile as they looked at the void that was flooded by profound skills and heavenly treasures. Especially Pei Tianhong. He wanted to go to the Black Tortoise world and open the door of potential. Unfortunately, the Yin Demon Land had restrictions and he could not enter the Black Tortoise world. He could only leave the Yin Demon Land first. However, just as everyone thought that the fire-robed old man was dead for sure, a blazing flame suddenly surged out. It was like a volcano erupting and lit up half the sky. What? Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Pei Tianhong, and Wang Changyuan all looked at the void where the fire-robed old man was. What's going on? Someone exclaimed. The heavenly treasures all flew out and surrounded the area, emitting a wave of shock. But there was something worth mentioning. The emotions of the 3-foot sword seemed to be different, as if it had a trace of fear. Boom! Voila! The flame became more intense. With the fire-robed old man as the center, this place quickly turned into a sea of fire, terrifying heat enveloping all directions. Boom! At the next moment, A monstrous aura exploded. This was the aura of the fire-robed old man. What? Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan's eyes widened in disbelief. Facing such an attack, he was actually not dead. But then. Whether it was Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, or Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan, their expressions all changed. Because in this aura, they actually felt a dragon's aura. That's right. It was dragon's aura. An extremely pure dragon's aura. Dragon's aura. Dragon's god. The 3 people and 1 wolf were extremely shocked. What was going on? Why was there dragon's aura? They stared intently at the sea of fire, wanting to see what was happening inside. But the flame was too strong and covered everything. It was impossible to see clearly. However, in the next instant, a deafening dragon roar rang out from the sea of flames. Dragon roar, there's a divine dragon. Could it be that the fiery-clothed old man has a divine dragon as his mount? Qin Feiyang frowned. Judging from this aura, it seemed to be even stronger than the old man in the fiery robe. You guys really don't know what death is. Suddenly, another hoarse voice resounded from within the sea of flames. It was deafening like thunder, and it contained shocking rage and killing intent. He really isn't dead. The white-eyed wolf murmured. This was the voice of the old man in fiery robes. Before he could finish his sentence, another dragon roar sounded. Then, a huge creature rushed out of the sea of fire. The expressions of Qin Feiyang and the others froze. It was a divine dragon. Its body was over 30,000 meters long, and its entire body was covered with dragon scales that looked like they were cast from lava. There was also a dragon horn on its head, and the 5 dragon claws below its abdomen were as huge as mountains, glowing with a gloomy light. Fire dragon? Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. It's the fire dragon. And not only it, my previous master was also a divine dragon. Suddenly, the 3-foot-long sword flew in front of Pei Tianhong and said in a deep voice. The dagger and other sacred items also retreated to the side of Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan. What? Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were shocked. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf also frowned. Their original bodies were all divine dragons. In other words, there was no divine dragon at all. This was the original body of the fiery-clothed old man. But why can't we sense the aura of a divine dragon on them? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Of course it's because they deliberately concealed the aura of a divine dragon. As long as they completely conceal the aura of a divine dragon, no one can sense it. The spirit of the 3-foot-long sword said. Then what about the dragons you mentioned? Qin Feiyang frowned. Dragons, the spirit was about to speak. But at this moment, the fiery-clothed old man turned into a fire dragon, activated instant time and instantly appeared in front of the 3-foot-long sword. Don't even think about it. Pei Tianhong roared, the power of law surged as he threw a punch. The fire dragon was obviously going to deal with the 3-foot-long sword. Because the 3-foot-long sword betrayed the golden-robed youth, it would definitely not let it go easily. Scram! The fire dragon roared and slapped Pei Tianhong with its claws. Puff! Pei Tianhong spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying, the armor on his body also shattered. This power! So terrifying! He was shocked. After returning to his original body, the fiery-clothed old man's strength had increased by an unknown amount. Even if you're a divine dragon, you still have to coil around us. Seeing this, Wang Changyuan also roared and the law of thunder rolled out. However, without waiting for Wang Changyuan to activate his ultimacy, the fire dragon's huge claw landed. Wang Changyuan also spat out a mouthful of blood and his entire body was like a meteorite, smashing into the ground below. Cracks also appeared on the golden armor on his body. With a loud bang, he smashed into the ground. As the dust billowed, a huge pit appeared. So strong. The white-eyed wolf murmured. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. Whether it was a divine dragon or other beasts, their strength would be greatly reduced when they transformed into their human form. Because in their human form, they couldn't exert their full strength. At most, they could only exert about 70% of their peak strength. In other words, after returning to their original body, they could exert 100% of their strength. Moreover, the body and strength of beasts were naturally stronger than humans. Therefore, after revealing his original body, the fire dragon's strength could no longer be compared to before. Don't be afraid. There are so many of us. Can't we beat him alone? Moreover, even if we want to escape, we can't. We can only fight it out with him. Seeing that the 3-foot-long sword was obviously afraid, the dagger spirit roared and rushed towards the fire dragon crazily. The 3-foot-long sword, the Ghost King battle axe, and Pei Tianhong's supreme-level divine weapon also charged forward. Humph! A bunch of ants. The fire dragon sneered, his eyes full of contempt. All the ultimacies appeared and blasted towards the 4 divine weapons. Kacha! The 4 divine weapon spirits cried out in pain and were blasted away on the spot. Their original bodies were damaged. Too strong. After returning to his original body, his strength is on a completely different level from before. Not only the 4 divine weapons, but Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan's eyes were full of solemnity. You dare to betray us dragons, you're courting death. The fire dragon's murderous aura was monstrous. He activated Moment of Time and clawed at the 3-foot-long sword. No. The 3-foot-long sword roared in horror. Escape? It definitely couldn't escape because the other party had the supreme ultimacy of the law of time. Chapter 3389. But now, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were unable to come to the rescue. Dagger, Ghost King battle axe, Pei Tianhong's heaven-defying divine weapons, although they were just beside the 3-feet sharp sword, they did not dare to go up. Because now, after the old man in the red robe returned to his original form, he was too strong, and they were already afraid. Just as the 3-feet sharp sword was in despair. Swoosh! Suddenly, 2 figures appeared in front of him. It was the white-eyed wolf, who had brought Qin Feiyang over. What? Seeing a man and a wolf running over to confront the fire dragon, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, and the other divine weapons were all shocked. Did you guys not understand the situation? Not to mention now that it has returned to its original form, even if it was still in its human form, it is not something that the 2 of you can fight head-on. This is simply courting death. The weapon spirit of the 3-feet sharp sword was also stunned. It had never thought that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf would risk their lives to rescue it. Before it died, it had regretted betraying Qin Feiyang, but now, it had made the right choice. Even if it died here, it was worth it. Because in this world, it was hard to meet such a loyal master. Old Pei, old Wang, quickly come and help. Qin Feiyang shouted. He knew in his heart that with his and the white-eyed wolf's strength, there was no way they could stop the fire dragon. They just wanted to buy as much time as possible. The reason why Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were seriously injured was not because they were really no match for the fire dragon, but because they were too shocked to react when they suddenly found out that the old man in the red robe was a divine dragon. In short, the 2 of them were completely caught off guard by the fire dragon's attack. As long as they were given some time to calm down and adapt, with their strength, they still had the power to fight. Hearing Qin Feiyang's shout, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other, took out a divine life pill, threw it into their mouths, and immediately rushed to help. At the same time, the fire dragon had already attacked Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf did not hold back either. The White-Eyed Wolf activated the supreme profundities of the law of death and the law of space. Qin Feiyang activated the 3,000 clones, the kill character art, and the esoteric body. The slaughter domain had already been opened once and could not be opened again. However, the current kill formula was also very powerful. After all, it was already a supreme-level heaven-defying divine art. One man and one wolf used all their strength to attack the fire dragon. A mere ant wants to compete with the sun and moon. The fire dragon gave a disdainful smile as the laws of force surged forth, and he shattered the White-Eyed Wolf's 2 ultimate profundities with a single swipe of his claw. He was practically unstoppable. Puff! The White-Eyed Wolf's body trembled. His throat heated up and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Rumble! Immediately after, Qin Feiyang and his 3,000 clones kill character art and esoteric divine art were also crushed by the fire dragon. The 3,000 clones were equivalent to 3,000 blood-colored swords, 9,000 fifth profundities, and Qin Feiyang's original body. With such an overwhelming advantage in numbers, they could not even block the fire dragon's claw. What's the point of fighting? Retreat! The White-Eyed Wolf waved his claw and swept up Qin Feiyang and the other heaven-defying divine items. He activated the moment of time and escaped with lightning speed. You want to leave? The fire dragon sneered. He suddenly raised his huge tail and shattered the sky. All the blood-colored swords and esoteric figures were instantly crushed into pieces. Immediately after, he also activated the moment of time. One had to know that his cultivation was 3 small realms higher than the White-Eyed Wolf's. How could the White-Eyed Wolf's moment of time be compared to him? In half a blink of an eye, he caught up with Qin Feiyang and the others. The huge tail mercilessly slapped. Bastard, how could it be a divine dragon? That terrifying dragon aura made the heaven-defying divine items roar in fear. Seeing that Qin Feiyang, the White-Eyed Wolf, and the other heaven-defying divine items were about to be buried under the huge tail, Pei Tianhong angrily rushed over. All the great laws and esoteric divine arts turned into a torrent and blasted towards the huge tail. Pei Tianhong had the moment of time, so his speed was naturally faster than Wang Changyuan. And this time, Pei Tianhong was also prepared to fight to the death. Because, he had already accepted this fact. In the past, he was the Hall Master of the Blood Hall, the ruler of the Western continent. Even in the entire sky cloud boundary, he was an existence that stood at the top. So, even if he was now following Qin Feiyang, even if he had seen all kinds of incredible things in the Yin Demon Land, he still felt that he was that supreme existence. No matter what happened, he had the confidence to deal with it. But just before, the claw that the fire dragon gave him was like a bolt of lightning that made him suddenly realize. On the surface, he was indeed an existence that stood at the top of the pyramid in the sky cloud boundary. But in reality, facing those mysterious races that were hidden in the dark and unknown to the world, his little bit of strength was simply not enough. This also made him especially eager to open the door of potential. Because opening the door of potential, his talent and potential would be greatly improved. In this way, he could quickly comprehend the supreme profound of other laws and increase his own strength. Only in this way could he survive under the feet of these mysterious races. In fact, it was just one sentence. Right now, he wanted to become stronger. And the shortcut in front of him was the door of potential. So at this moment, he was no longer deliberately showing off. He was sincerely protecting Qin Feiyang's safety. Because Qin Feiyang was the key to making him stronger. There must be no accidents. Besides, for a mere divine artifact, Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf were willing to risk their lives to rescue him. Such a person was not worthy of respect, not worthy of following. Boom! The torrent formed by various profound, carrying a monstrous aura, slammed onto the fire dragon's giant tail. On the giant tail, several dragon scales shattered on the spot, dragon blood splattered down. This was the strength of his desperation. Even if the other party had two kinds of profound, even if the physical body was naturally stronger than humans, as long as he was determined to go all out, he could still make the other party pay the price. You're courting death. The fire dragon was furious, ignoring the injuries of the giant tail, crazily pressing down. The torrent formed by various profound was annihilated on the spot. Pei Tianhong did not dodge. His entire body was emitting an unprecedented battle intent. Not only the power of law, but also divine power, all of it poured into his fist and punched out. Boom! Another dragon scale exploded, dragon blood gushed out like a fountain. But Pei Tianhong also spat out a mouthful of blood, his body shook, and then like a meteorite, he flew out horizontally. If you want to die, I'll kill you first. The fire dragon was completely enraged. The law of force surged. A giant hand suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It was 10,000 feet long. It was like the palm of a god, covering the sky, shattering the void and the earth, exuding an aura of destruction. This was the supreme profound of the law of force. Boom! The giant hand fell from the sky, containing a terrifying power, slamming towards Pei Tianhong. Old Pei, I'm here to help you. At this moment, Wang Changyuan roared and finally charged over. The eye of thunder appeared in the sky, thunder and lightning roared together, divine light boundless. In the next moment, there was a rumble of thunder, and a bolt of lightning pierced through the sky, shooting towards the giant hand. Chapter 3390. Seeing Wang Changyuan charging over, Pei Tianhong's spirit was roused, once again activating his profound law, charging towards the fire dragon. With the two of them working together, even the powerful fire dragon felt the pressure once again. Because from the two of them, one could feel a will to fight to the death. Weaklings weren't scary. What was scary was that when facing a strong enemy, they didn't even have the courage to fight. The same logic. As long as you were ruthless enough and fearless, even an ant was enough to make an elephant feel fear. Not to mention, the difference between the two of them and the fire dragon wasn't the same as the difference between an ant and an elephant. Although they were weaker than the fire dragon individually, the two of them together didn't have much of a difference. The only difference was the physical body and power. As a divine beast, the fire dragon's physical body and power were naturally stronger than theirs. However, although it was strong, it wasn't to the point where it could crush them. Firm and unyielding, fighting to the death. The two of them had an unyielding will, an unyielding fighting spirit, as sharp as a blade. Boom! The two of them collided with the giant tail. Roar! Following a dragon roar, the fire dragon's giant tail shattered on the spot, flesh and blood splattering everywhere. You guys are unforgivable. The fire dragon roared, its anger burning the sky. In its eyes, other than the 4 forbidden zones, the beings in the 4 continents of the sky cloud boundary were all ants. But now, it was actually heavily injured by 2 ants again and again. This was something its pride couldn't accept. Forbidden technique, fire dragon domain. As the roar landed, a fiery red barrier appeared. This barrier was tens of thousands of feet long, covering one side of the world, including the two of them. Immediately, inside the barrier, it turned into a sea of fire. Waves of fire were like giant pythons roaring. Roar! The two of them were perfect stage dominators, but inside this barrier, it was as if they were trapped in a world-destroying furnace, their bodies were being incinerated. What is this? The two of them were shocked. The power of laws surged out, joining forces to attack the barrier. With a loud boom, the barrier twisted violently, but it didn't break. What? The two of them were dumbfounded. Even with their strength, they were unable to break through the barrier. Turn into ashes. The fire dragon laughed ferociously. The flames within the barrier became even more terrifying. They covered the sky and covered the earth as they surged towards Pei Tianhong and his companion. It was as if they had the divine might to burn the entire world. It wasn't just their physical bodies that were being incinerated. Even the nomological powers around them were being incinerated. No way. So strong. White-Eyed Wolf was also dumbfounded. Just now, I heard it say that this fire dragon domain seems to be a forbidden technique. Qin Feiyang frowned. The White-Eyed Wolf was slightly taken aback. He thought about it carefully and nodded. That's right, it did say that. Immediately, the hearts of man and wolf sank. So-called forbidden techniques were super-killing techniques that cost one's life and qi and blood. This kind of super-killing technique was far more powerful than the divine arts. Just like when Zhao Shaojin was in the trial grounds, facing the encirclement and sneak attack of Zhang Sanbao and the others, he activated a forbidden technique and used his life force as the price to exchange for extreme speed, bringing Qin Feiyang out of the encirclement. Generally speaking, even those who had mastered the forbidden technique would not casually activate it, because the price was too great. But once it was activated, it was equivalent to an invincible existence. Just like now. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were unable to break through the fire dragon domain even after joining forces. Attack, support them. Qin Feiyang clenched his teeth, looked at the white-eyed wolf and the few heaven-defying sacred creatures beside him, and shouted. Clang! Boom! 3,000 incarnations, various profound mysteries, the few heaven-defying sacred creatures also displayed their abilities and crazily charged towards the fire dragon domain. However, the fire dragon domain was like a meteorite, indestructible. You want to break through the fire dragon domain with just you two? Do you think the forbidden technique is a joke? Go to hell. The fire dragon laughed in disdain, and the law of force's paramount mysteries appeared, bringing with it the power to destroy heaven and earth as it slapped towards Qin Feiyang and the others. It also knew its own limits. Even with the fire dragon domain, it couldn't kill Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan in a short period of time, so it attacked Qin Feiyang and the others first. Because in its eyes, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were a bigger threat than Pei Tianhong and the others. Although Pei Tianhong and the others were indeed stronger than Qin Feiyang and the others now, their future achievements would definitely surpass them. The white-eyed wolf was the best example. If it was allowed to grow, who would be able to subdue it in the future? Let's go. The dagger's artifact spirit roared. These divine items had already been heavily injured by the fire dragon, so they didn't dare to go against the supreme mysteries now. The white-eyed wolf frowned, waved its claws, and took Qin Feiyang and the other divine artifacts, turning around and activating the moment of time, escaping into the sky. Can you run away? The fire dragon simply left Pei Tianhong and the others behind, and stepped into the river of time, instantly appearing in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. Because the fire dragon domain was imprisoning Pei Tianhong and the others, it could temporarily ignore them. Too fast. The white-eyed wolf braked and stopped, its expression extremely ugly. Behind. The paramount mysteries of the law of force were coming at them aggressively. In front. The fire dragon personally blocked the path, and the law of time annihilated the sky. There was no way out. You youngsters are really arrogant, getting carried away after taking a little advantage. Do you know how many people are stronger than you in this world? Don't talk about sparring, even if I humiliate you and suppress you, what can you do? The fire dragon's eyes were full of disdain. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf clenched their fists. What? You're not convinced. But what can you do if you're not convinced? If I want to kill you, it's as easy as crushing an ant. As the fire dragon's voice fell, the giant hand formed by the supreme mysteries of the law of force behind Qin Feiyang and the others suddenly attacked. The dagger and the other heaven-defying divine items resolutely charged at the giant hand at full speed. They definitely had to resist. They couldn't just stand there and wait for death, right? Clang! However, facing the supreme mysteries, accompanied by a deafening sound, the divine items shattered one after another, and their light dimmed. Without any pause, the giant hand continued to attack Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Damn it, I didn't expect to die here. The white-eyed wolf roared in disbelief. Don't give up, as long as you're alive, there's still hope. Qin Feiyang muttered as thoughts flashed through his mind, but in the end, he realized that he couldn't find a way to escape. If the other party was a greater mastery or even a perfected dominator, they would have a chance to kill their way out. But the other party was not only a perfected dominator, but also had two supreme mysteries. This was a complete and utter suppression. Without me, you guys are still not enough. But suddenly, the madman's laughter sounded in the inner area. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were stunned and immediately looked toward the inner area. Boom! In the next instant, a monstrous aura erupted from the madman's location. Following closely, the madman rushed out from the black fog, and from the outside, he didn't seem to have changed at all. But whether it was Qin Feiyang or the white-eyed wolf, they could vaguely feel that the madman seemed to be different from before. Why are you in a daze? Run for your life! The madman shouted. The white-eyed wolf came back to his senses and swept up Qin Feiyang and the broken treasures, activated instant time, and flew away. The fire dragon's attention was also on the madman, and by the time it reacted, Qin Feiyang had already appeared on the other side of the fire dragon's domain. Boom! The gigantic hand that blotted out the sky slammed into the ground below. Accompanied by an earth-shaking boom, a large part of the ground instantly shattered. Old Qin, brother wolf, I'll let you guys see my current strength. The madman laughed. Strength? The man and wolf were both surprised. The madman's gaze fell on the fire dragon, and a blood-red wave appeared in his eyes. In the blink of an eye, his two eyeballs were dyed red with blood. Boom! Immediately after, a violent aura rushed out from the madman's body. Immediately after, a terrifying scene appeared. The madman's 1.8-meter-tall body began to grow in size. Is this the law of force? The white-eyed wolf was shocked. The 5 profound meanings of the law of force made the body become incomparably huge. It doesn't seem to be. Qin Feiyang shook his head. He had seen the law of force before. And he had mastered the law of force. The enlargement of the law of force was different from the madman's current enlargement. And now, he didn't feel the aura of the law of force on the madman's body, and the madman didn't master the law of force. Wait! Qin Feiyang suddenly seemed to have discovered something. He stared at the madman's body without blinking. He saw blood-red hair growing out from the madman's body, covering his entire body. From afar, he looked like a giant blood ape. This appearance, where have I seen it before? The white-eyed wolf looked at the madman's current appearance, and his expression was full of surprise. Qin Feiyang nodded. It was very familiar. In the blink of an eye, the madman's body reached a height of 10,000 feet. His entire body was covered with blood-red hair, and that fierce aura was earth-shattering, crazily engulfing this world. I remember now. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf shouted. What? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Blood demon race. The blood demon race looks like him after transforming. The white-eyed wolf exclaimed in disbelief. Yes, 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 it's the blood demon race. Qin Feiyang also suddenly realized. The current madman's appearance was simply carved from the same mold as the transformed blood demon race. How could this be? He actually turned into a blood demon race. Could he really be the reincarnation of the blood demon race's ancestor? The white-eyed wolf muttered. This was too strange. A human actually mastered the transformation ability of the blood demon race. And after transforming, just like the blood demon race, the madman's aura also skyrocketed countless times. No. It was even more exaggerated than the blood demon race. Because the aura that the madman was emitting was already comparable to a perfection sovereign realm expert. Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong were also dumbfounded in the fire dragon domain. What was this situation? How could a living person turn into a monster? Chapter 3391. Damn, so ugly. Madman lowered his head and looked at himself. His face was also filled with shock as if he didn't know the result would be like this. Wait. Isn't this the appearance of the blood demon race after transforming? I actually became a blood demon. Madman waved his hand and the space in front of him distorted, quickly turning into a mirror. Looking at himself in the mirror, his mouth twitched. How was this still a human? He was clearly a monster. Truly strange. How did I become a blood demon? Could it really be like what old Qin said? I'm the reincarnation of the blood demon race's ancestor. Please don't, truly too ugly. If Xian saw this, wouldn't she hate to die? Madman shook his head. However, although it was a bit ugly, this power, this aura, it was truly satisfying. No matter what, he had to get rid of the fire dragon first. Shwa! Madman suddenly raised his head and stared at the fire dragon. Old bastard, you dare to bully my brother, take this. Boom! As soon as his words fell, he took a step forward and a large part of the void shattered. Like an ancient giant, he punched at the fire dragon. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that his fist was bigger than a mountain. The power of this fist could destroy the world. Humph! The fire dragon snorted and slapped out with his claw without backing down. Boom! In an instant, the fist and dragon claw collided. A wave of apocalyptic energy instantly rolled out in all directions with them as the center. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf hid behind the fire dragon's domain and weren't affected because the fluctuation was blocked by the fire dragon's domain. However, at this moment, their feelings could only be described with the word shock. Madman's current strength wasn't any weaker than the fire dragon's. The fist and dragon claw were in a deadlock in the void as if neither could do anything to the other. One had to know. The fire dragon was at the perfection ruler realm. Madman was only at the early success ruler realm. Even after transforming, he couldn't be this strong. You always say that I'm a pervert. Who's the real pervert? The white-eyed wolf pouted. He felt that the transformed madman was even more ferocious than his three supreme laws. At the same time, the fire dragon's pupils shrank. The strength that the madman displayed greatly exceeded its expectations. The strength of this 10,000-foot-long body was not the slightest bit inferior to its divine dragon body. It was truly inconceivable. Although I don't know what happened to you, if you think you can defeat me like this, then you are gravely mistaken. The fire dragon's eyes shone fiercely as he went all out. His terrifying aura roared like angry waves as he retracted his dragon claws, raised his huge tail and smashed it towards Madman. Does your father know how arrogant you are? The madman looked at it with disdain. He suddenly raised his hands and grabbed the giant tail. Boom! The power of the giant tail poured down. The madman's hands shook and blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth. It seemed that, compared to the divine dragon body, his 10,000-foot-long body was still a little inferior. However, no matter how powerful the tail was, he didn't sink down, nor did he take a step back. He only shook a little, and then he stood in the void like a mountain, holding the fire dragon's huge tail with both hands. Obviously, Even if it was weaker than the divine dragon body, it was not much weaker. Too strong. This is the divine dragon body. If it were you or me, just based on the strength of his physical body, we would not be his opponent. Pei Tianhong looked at Wang Changyuan and said in shock. Yes. Just based on physical body and strength, there is probably no one in the human race who can compete with him now. Wang Changyuan nodded. The two of them resisted the flames of the fire dragon domain while paying attention to the battle between the madman and the fire dragon. The strength and physical strength that the madman displayed was something they had never seen before. He was simply a monster. You are courting death. With his majesty challenged, the fire dragon was filled with hostility. The law of force rolled out. Boom! As soon as the law of force appeared, the effect immediately became different. With a puff, the madman spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was like a meteorite, smashing into the ground below. Whether it was divine power or the law of force, they could all increase one's lethality. In other words, having a strong physical body and strength did not mean that one was invincible. One still had to understand the law of force. Unless your physical body and strength were so strong that even the law of force could be destroyed with one punch. But this kind of physical body and strength had never appeared before. Whether it existed or not was still unknown. Boom! The madman smashed into the ground below, creating a huge crater. His body was covered in wounds and instantly turned into a bloody man. Just this? Huolong looked down at madman, his expression full of contempt. Jia, however. Before the fire dragon finished speaking, the madman's laughter sounded. The surrounding Yin demon force crazily rushed into his body. The injuries on his body were all healed in an instant. Damn! Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were dumbfounded. What was going on? The Yin demon force had the ability to heal injuries. The fire dragon was also dumbfounded. Who didn't know about the Yin demon force? Not only was it useless to living beings, but it would also erode divine power, divine soul, and law of force. But now, it could actually heal the madman's injuries. What kind of joke was this? Was this still the Yin demon force that made people tremble in fear? You want to kill me? You're not strong enough. The madman laughed and jumped up. His body emitted a shocking aura. Boom! Accompanied by a loud sound, a stone door appeared in the sky. There were many skulls on it, emitting a thick aura of death. It was the fifth law of death, the gate of hell. The aura of the gate of hell seems to be different. The white-eyed wolf muttered. What do you mean by seems? It's clearly the case. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. The aura of the gate of hell was not the aura of an early-stage ruler. It was the aura of a peak-stage ruler. In other words, the madman's activation of the fifth law was equivalent to a peak-stage ruler activating the fifth law of death. It was exactly the same as the blood demon race. After transforming, whether it was the physical body, power, or other aspects, it would be greatly improved. Thinking back to the past. After the one-eyed giant in mysterious sky ancient city transformed, he only relied on his peak stage 9 heavens realm cultivation to face thousands of 9 heavens realm experts, including many supreme grade divine artifacts and divine arts. One had to know. Supreme grade divine artifacts and divine arts were comparable to the peak stage 9 heavens realm. Even so, the one-eyed giant still relied on its transformed strength to crush them like they were twigs. This ability was like the blood word imprint. It could increase one's strength in all aspects. However, there was one thing that Qin Feiyang couldn't figure out. The blood demon race transformed with the help of the evil moon and could only transform at night. But now, although the Yin demon land was dark all year round, it was clearly daytime. Moreover, there was no evil moon. What did the madman use to transform? In the sky. The fire dragon looked at the gate of hell and the shock in his eyes became stronger. What kind of monster was this person transformed from? The power of the law was determined by one's cultivation, but the madman's fifth profound was actually this strong? It didn't make sense. Boom! But he didn't underestimate it. He activated the supreme profound of the law of force. A giant hand appeared out of nowhere and slammed towards the gate of hell. With a loud clang, the gate of hell was sent flying and shattered into pieces. Obviously. Even if the madman's fifth profound reached the peak stage dominator realm after transforming, he still couldn't block the supreme profound, even if it was only the supreme profound of the law of force. After all, the difference between the fifth profound and the supreme profound was too great. However, whether it was the fire dragon or Qin Fei Yang and the others, they could clearly feel that the madman could fight against a peak stage dominator realm expert after transforming. Even if the other party didn't grasp the supreme profound, they might not be able to defeat the madman. Unimaginable. Boom! The fire dragon took advantage of the situation and pursued. The giant hand slammed down. The madman groaned and was once again slammed into the ground, his body shattered into pieces. However, as the power of the surrounding demons surged into his body, his torn flesh instantly healed and he jumped out of the pit full of vigor. The fire dragon was dumbfounded. Qin Fei Yang and the others were also dumbfounded. This recovery ability was too abnormal. It was even more terrifying than the red blood word imprint. The blood demon race could also summon the power of the evil moon to recover, but compared to the madman, they weren't on the same level. Although it's a bit ugly, I'm quite satisfied with its power. The madman looked at himself and laughed wildly. The current him could be said to be even more terrifying than the fire dragon with the blood word imprint. Let's see how long you can be arrogant for. The fire dragon was enraged. All the profound laws were unleashed, emitting an unparalleled destructive power. Although the madman was ridiculously strong, when the fire dragon used all his strength, he couldn't help but feel the threat of death. After all, the fire dragon in front of him was a super expert that grasped two supreme profound laws. He was on a completely different level from the previous fire dragon. The madman glanced at the fire dragon's domain and took a step forward. He instantly landed in front of the fire dragon's domain and shouted, "Let's destroy this thing together." Okay. Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong nodded. Qin Fei Yang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and attacked with all their strength. Boom! All the profound skills emitted a monstrous power. The madman's fist also exploded with a destructive power. In an instant, all the attacks landed on the same spot. Because if the attacks were too scattered, the damage wouldn't reach its peak. On the contrary, if they all landed on the same spot, then the damage would all be concentrated on one point. Naturally, it would be easier to destroy the fire dragon's domain. However, a forbidden technique was indeed a forbidden technique. Even if all the attacks were concentrated on one point, the fire dragon's domain didn't shatter. It was only crazily twisting without a single crack appearing. Damn! The madman was stunned. I know you're a forbidden technique, but it shouldn't be this abnormal. Chapter 3392. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan also had a bitter smile. The forbidden technique was indeed extraordinary. However, the fire dragon couldn't hold on for long after activating the forbidden technique. The two of them raised their heads and looked at the fire dragon. As expected, the fire dragon was already showing signs of age and his spirit wasn't as vigorous as before. Senior brother, hold on for a while longer. Qin Fei Yang also noticed this and transmitted his voice. Okay. The mad scientist directly turned around and charged towards the fire dragon. How can the fire dragon's domain be broken by ants like you? The fire dragon smiled disdainfully, using all kinds of supernatural powers to attack Madman, his murderous aura surging. Let's retreat. Qin Feiyang looked at the fire dragon and then transmitted his voice to the white-eyed wolf. Retreat? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. When we can't do anything to senior brother mad scientist, it will definitely attack us. So while its attention is on senior brother mad scientist, let's escape first. Qin Feiyang secretly said. Okay. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Immediately, one man and one wolf retracted their aura and quietly retreated. I want to see how long you can maintain this fire dragon's domain. At the same time, looking at the incoming esoteric god art, the madman sneered and went all out. He raised his fist and punched at the esoteric god art. Retreat? That didn't exist. After transforming, it was as if he was injected with chicken blood. He felt that even if the ice dragon came, he could still fight. Boom! The fist and the profound ability met in an instant. With a crisp cracking sound, the mad scientist's fist and arm directly shattered and blood splattered everywhere. All kinds of profound ability rushed forward and the terrifying divine power once again shattered the mad scientist's body. Blood dyed the sky. Jia, but the mad scientist wasn't afraid at all as he crazily absorbed the Yin demon power. Especially the Yin demon power in the inner area, it was like a raging wave in the sea, rushing towards him. Why is he so difficult to deal with? The fire dragon's brows furrowed tightly. He was extremely angry. Was it the reincarnation of a cockroach? It was impossible to kill such a person. Suddenly, its powerful aura weakened a little. Not good. The fire dragon's expression suddenly changed. The forbidden technique had been active for too long, especially the fire dragon's domain. Qin Feiyang and the others didn't know, but it was very clear. This was a top-notch forbidden technique. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for Qin Feiyang and the others to join forces and attack it. It was precisely because it was the most powerful forbidden technique that its duration was shorter than that of ordinary forbidden techniques. Similarly, the life force consumption was also several times that of an ordinary forbidden technique. If this continued, it was afraid that before it could kill these people, it would exhaust itself to death here. And at this moment, its aged appearance was already very obvious. It was to the point that he was showing signs of old age. It looked at the madman, then at Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan. Finally, it looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. The madman couldn't be killed. Even if Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were imprisoned in the fire dragon's domain, they couldn't be solved in a short time. Then, it could only attack Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. But when its gaze fell on the position where Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were previously, its expression suddenly froze. Where were they? It hurriedly scanned the surroundings. Not to mention humans and wolves, there wasn't even a shadow of a ghost. When did they leave? It was completely dumbfounded. They actually sneaked away. Do you think they are so stupid that they will stand there and wait for you to kill them? The madman's injuries had healed again. His eyes were full of disdain. After speaking, he activated the Death Law, Slaughter Law, and Thunder Law's three great fifth profound meanings and attacked the fire dragon. Really? It was absolutely not an exaggeration. With the madman's current combat strength, an ordinary perfect stage dominator couldn't beat him. Too strong. Too heaven-defying. Although the heaven-defying degree couldn't be compared to the slaughter domain, it was already shocking enough in the sky cloud domain. Now, their team's strength was getting more and more terrifying. No one dared to underestimate them. First of all, Qin Feiyang had the slaughter domain as his trump card. The biggest reason for the destruction of the Blood Hall was because of the slaughter domain. It could be said that without the slaughter domain, it was impossible to destroy the Blood Hall with just the power of the ancient castle. After all, the Blood Hall had 3 Dominator weapons back then. Secondly, the madman's trump card, transformation. An ordinary perfect stage dominator, that is, a perfect stage dominator who hadn't comprehended the supreme profound, was no longer his opponent. Even if the madman had grasped the supreme profound of the death law, even if he only had the cultivation of a small stage dominator, after transforming, even a super expert like Pei Tianhong wouldn't be able to beat him. Finally, without a doubt, this was the white-eyed wolf's innate ability. The 6 opportunities to fuse with the power of laws could be said to have given him a great fortune. Now, he had already fused with 3 supreme profound of the supreme law. When he fused with another 3 and stepped into the perfect stage dominator realm, the white-eyed wolf's strength could be declared invincible in the sky cloud domain. Yes. It was invincible. Whoever came would die, no need to show off. Therefore, what they were lacking now was time. The white-eyed wolf was another matter. However, Qin Feiyang and the madman, even if they had these heaven-defying abilities, they still had to rely on themselves to slowly comprehend the profound of the laws. Of course. They also had shortcuts. If they were lucky and encountered a law inheritance that contained the supreme profound, then they would be able to save a lot of time. However, this kind of opportunity could only be encountered and not sought. It depended on fate. As the battle continued, the fire dragon's mood became more and more irritable. He wanted to kill Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, but he couldn't find them. The remaining madman and Pei Tianhong weren't easy to kill. Most importantly, as his life force flowed away, the feeling of weakness became more and more obvious. Even now, he could only display 90% of his strength. However, don't underestimate this 90% strength. When he maintained his human form, he could only display 70% of his strength, which intimidated Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan. At the same time, as his strength became weaker and weaker, the fire dragon's domain also became unstable. In addition, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan never stopped bombarding the fire dragon's domain. Therefore, the fire dragon's domain was about to show signs of cracking. After fighting for a while, the fire dragon looked at the increasingly unstable fire dragon's domain and decisively activated instant time, turning around and rushing towards the inner area. The madman was startled. He actually ran away. So, coming back to his senses, he immediately activated ghost steps and chased after him. Qin Feiyang, Pei Tianhong, and Wang Changyuan didn't dare to enter the inner area, but he wasn't afraid. The power of the Yin demon was equivalent to a tonic in his eyes. After the little rabbit helped to level up the ghost steps, not only was it a supreme-level heaven-defying support technique, it could also completely conceal his aura. However, after activating the ghost steps and entering the black fog, he was like a ghost, silent and undetectable. At this time, even if he was standing behind you, you wouldn't be able to detect him. The fire dragon suspiciously looked behind him. He didn't chase after him. However, even if he chased, with this kid's speed, he wouldn't be able to catch up to him. After all, a supreme-level heaven-defying support technique couldn't compare to the time law's highest profound, instant time. It was indeed so. After the madman transformed, not only did his physical body and strength increase, even his speed reached the level of a complete circle dominator. Adding on the ghost steps, this was basically his extreme speed. However, when he chased into the inner area, he couldn't find any traces of the fire dragon. However, the fire dragon's aura was still there, and this was the only thing that could lock onto the fire dragon's location. Outside, the fire dragon's domain also dissipated at this time. Because the fire dragon had already left and had opened up the distance, there was no need to continue activating the fire dragon's domain and waste life force. Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong flew out like lightning and stood at the edge. Looking at the inner area, their brows furrowed. Should we chase after him? Pei Tianhong asked. This, Wang Changyuan hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, since we have already fought to this point, then let's chase him to the end. All right. Pei Tianhong nodded and shouted, little madman, release your aura. His voice was like a bell that spread into the inner area. Boom! Immediately, a fierce aura exploded out from a place in the inner area. You don't have to wait for us, we can catch up to you. Pei Tianhong roared and brought Wang Changyuan along, activating instant time and disappearing into the black fog like lightning. At the same time that the two of them entered the inner area, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf flew over from afar and landed on the edge. What do we do? The white-eyed wolf looked at the depths of the inner area and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. What else can we do? We can't interfere in this kind of battle. This time, we can only rely on senior brother Madman and old Pei. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Looking at you, you seem to be feeling unwell. The white-eyed wolf looked at him teasingly. Unwell? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Other than fighting with that young man, you have been watching the entire battle. You must feel that you are useless. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. This, Qin Feiyang muttered to himself for a moment, then coughed dryly and said, a little. Between brothers, there was nothing to hide. Brother knew it. The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly, then shook his head and said, actually, you don't have to think so much. The ones who are really stressed are brother and little madman. What kind of pressure can you guys have? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Of course. Look, when we first entered the Sky Cloud realm, we fought with the Great Deacon, Old Hai, and the three sovereign divine weapons. You were the only one fighting outside. Brother and Madman could only hide in the Black Tortoise realm and watch. The second time was on White Crane Island. You fought with the three sovereign divine weapons and the Great Deacon. You and Old Huo were also the ones fighting outside. We could only watch. The third time was in the Blood Hall. You and Old Castle fought the Ice Dragon Sacred Sword and the Horsetail Whisk in the Star River. Brother and Little Madman went to find Old Hai and didn't help much. So, whenever there is a big battle, Little Madman and I are a little disappointed. We even have a feeling that we have become a burden to you. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. I have never thought of it that way. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said. Nonsense. If you really dare to think that way, I will immediately cut ties with you. But then again, no matter how capable a person is, it is impossible for him to do everything. So, there is no need for us to think so much. After all, we are all on the same side. If you can't do it, brother will do it. If brother can't do it, little madman will do it. As long as this matter can be done. The white-eyed wolf waved his paw and said heroically. I didn't expect you to have such awareness. Qin Feiyang was surprised. The white-eyed wolf's expression stiffened. He glared at Qin Feiyang angrily and said, I can't be bothered with you. After saying that, he raised his head and continued to look at the inner area. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He also looked at the inner area. Don't say. After the white-eyed wolf said that, the little bit of emotion in his heart disappeared. Chapter 3393. Inner Region. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan had already met up with Crazy. The moment they met up, Madman absorbed the Yin demonic power in their bodies and used the blood demon power to create a barrier that isolated the Yin demonic power around them. Can you keep up? Crazy asked. We can definitely keep up, but it will be difficult to catch up. Pei Tianhong brought the two of them and used the instant time to chase after the fire dragon. Because the other party also controlled the instant time and their speed was the same, they could only see if they could find an opportunity. Both sides used the instant time, one chasing and one escaping. Although they couldn't see each other through the black mist, they could clearly capture each other's aura. Are we really going to chase to the end? The fire dragon's eyes were dark. The first time he came out of the forbidden area, he actually encountered such a thing. When this spread to the ears of his clansmen, they would definitely laugh at him. It was a great humiliation. However, he was confident. As long as no one blocked him, there would be no problem returning to the clansmen. Because it was the instant time, the other party couldn't catch up to him. Even if he used up all his law power and couldn't use the instant time, the other party would still be the same. Old Pei, why don't you use the forbidden technique? Wang Changyuan said solemnly. What? You want me to use the forbidden technique? Pei Tianhong was stunned. You also have a forbidden technique? Crazy also looked at Pei Tianhong in shock. Pei Tianhong glanced at Wang Changyuan and then turned to the madman. He hesitated for a moment before nodding, indeed, but the price of my forbidden technique isn't something an ordinary person can bear. It requires the sacrifice of a type of law, and it has to be the fifth profound at the very least. Crazy's mouth twitched when he heard this. Sacrificing a law power. To be honest, this price was indeed greater than sacrificing one's life force. Because life force could be quickly recovered with the help of a divine pill. But for something like law power, once it was lost, it would be completely gone and one would have to comprehend it again. The law power was a very mysterious thing. If one was lucky, they could comprehend it in minutes. But if they were unlucky, they wouldn't be able to comprehend it in tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of years. So, sacrificing a law power was on a completely different level from sacrificing one's life force. Then your forbidden technique should be very powerful, right? Back then, when you fought against us, why didn't I see you use a forbidden technique? Madman was curious. At that time, it was already an overwhelming situation. Even activating a forbidden technique was useless. Furthermore, back then, the Demon Hall's Hall Master and the Alliance Master of the Loose Cultivator Alliance both had their trump cards. Why waste a cultivation of one minor realm? As for the might of this forbidden technique, it's indeed not bad. Pei Tianhong said. Then, if I activate the forbidden technique, will I be able to catch up to it? Madman asked. Sure. Pei Tianhong nodded. Madman's eyes lit up when he heard this. Seeing this, Pei Tianhong became nervous. Was he really going to activate the forbidden technique? The madman rolled his eyes and chuckled. Didn't old Qin say that after killing these two, he would help you open the door to all your potential? Yes. Pei Tianhong nodded. If that's the case, you can also activate the forbidden technique. After all, with your talent, it shouldn't be too difficult for you to comprehend another law after you open all the doors to potential. Madman bared his teeth. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong couldn't help but smile bitterly. This bastard little madman indeed had this intention. The effort and the reward should be proportionate, right? If you don't think of a way to get rid of this fire dragon, then you won't be able to open the door to potential. As time passes, old Wang might even surpass you. Madman smirked. Wang Changyuan puffed out his chest as a trace of complacency appeared on his face. He said, my supreme profundity of the laws of fire has indeed almost been comprehended. Pei Tianhong's expression froze. So fast. No one knew Wang Changyuan's situation better than him. After all, he was once his confidant. Although Wang Changyuan had indeed been comprehending the highest profundities of the law of fire, according to his knowledge, he had been stuck at a bottleneck for many years, unable to make any progress. But now, how long had it been since he opened the door to potential and he had already broken through the bottleneck? Was the effect of the door of potential really that heaven-defying? Although he was familiar with the legend of the door of potential, this was the first time he witnessed it with his own eyes. Did you see that? This is the benefit of opening the door of potential. Madman chuckled. He was very satisfied with Wang Changyuan's cooperation. It was enough to show that Wang Changyuan was indeed someone who was good at reading people's expressions. Who? Pei Tianhong took a deep breath as his eyes flashed with determination. He nodded. Okay, I will open the forbidden technique. But just as he finished speaking, Madman stopped him before he could open the forbidden technique. What? Pei Tianhong was suspicious. I just wanted to see your attitude, I didn't really want you to open the forbidden technique. Madman waved his hand. This, Pei Tianhong was stunned. Madman said so much just to see his attitude. You still don't understand us. Although we are ruthless to outsiders, we are very friendly to our own people. For example, your forbidden technique, unless you have no other choice, even if you want to open it, we won't allow it. After all, the price is too high. Madman snickered. Pei Tianhong was stunned and asked, then what about the fire dragon? Fire dragon? Madman smiled and shook his head. If you can kill it now, then kill it. If you can't, then leave it for the future. Don't look at how strong it is. I don't care about it at all. It's not worth it for you to sacrifice a law for a mere bug. Little bug? Pei Tianhong was stunned and speechless. This was a divine dragon. A legendary divine beast. But in this brat's eyes, it was just a bug. However, these words moved him quite a bit. In the past, he didn't know the character of Qin Feiyang and the others. But now that he understood them better, he realized that they were indeed a group of people who valued relationships. To be honest, with Qin Feiyang and Madman's attitude, if someone betrayed them, he would feel uneasy. He finally understood. Why would the Demon Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance support this group of people? This was the friendship that was exchanged with sincerity and sincerity. After hearing this, Pei Tianhong had a new understanding of Qin Feiyang, the mad scientist, and the others. However, if he couldn't kill the two of them, then would Qin Feiyang be able to help him open the door of potential? Old Qin told you to kill them, but it doesn't mean that you have to. I understand old Qin. As long as you try your best, as long as you sincerely follow him, he will do his best to help you. Madman said calmly. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong heaved a sigh of relief. It's still the same words. If you want us to treat you as one of us, then you have to show us your attitude. Humans are like this. If you treat me well, I will treat you well. If you treat me badly, I will treat you badly. Put yourself in my shoes. Madman smiled. Pei Tianhong pondered for a while and nodded, I will try my best to adapt to all of this. I hope that my choice today is not wrong. Trust me. Your choice will not be wrong. Madman laughed. He had finally completely subdued this person. From today onwards, Pei Tianhong would be the main force of this team. Seeing that the distance between them and the fire dragon hadn't shortened even a little bit, Wang Changyuan turned to look at Madman and asked, since we can't catch up, should we give up first? Madman looked at the black fog ahead, his eyes flashing. After a while, he nodded decisively and laughed, let's give up first. When we meet it in the future, we will kill it. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong immediately braked and came to a stop. After chasing for so long, his time law was almost exhausted. If he continued, it wouldn't be long before he couldn't even activate instant time. At that time, if he met a strong enemy, the situation would be very bad. Boom! But at this moment, a terrifying aura surged out from the inner area. Madman, Pei Tianhong, and Wang Changyuan were stunned. This seemed to be the aura of a horsetail whisk. That's right. It was it. The horsetail whisk was finally back. Horsetail whisk, stop that fire dragon in front. Frenzy roared and looked at Pei Tianhong, quick, chase after them and surround them from both sides. As the saying goes, it's better to come at the right time than to come early. The appearance of the horsetail whisk at this time was simply a great help. At the same time, the fire dragon also sensed the aura of the horsetail whisk, and his eyes were full of surprise. But when he heard Madman's shout, his expression changed drastically. He immediately turned around, activated instant time, and rushed in another direction. Boom! Accompanied by a series of rumbling sounds, a divine light shattered in all directions and broke through the air in an instant. Who else could it be but the horsetail whisk? But at this moment it was in an extremely sorry state. Not only was it riddled with scars, but it was also broken into two. However, even so, its divine might was unstoppable. It was like a god of war. In just a few breaths, it descended above the fire dragon and mercilessly suppressed it. Damn it! The fire dragon roared. With a wave of its claw, the golden-clothed youth appeared. The golden-clothed youth also had a look of panic. Don't look back, run! The fire dragon roared, and the power of law surged out, rushing towards the golden-clothed youth. The golden-clothed youth exclaimed and immediately flew into the distance uncontrollably. I really didn't expect that I would be forced to this extent by you. However, don't be complacent. Today, if I die here, it will definitely set off a bloody storm in the sky cloud realm. And all of this is because of you. You will become the eternal sinners of the sky cloud realm. Explode! The fire dragon let out a chilling laugh and let out a roar. Its huge body immediately exploded in the void. What? Madman and the other two hadn't arrived yet. When they heard the loud explosion and felt the destructive fluctuations, their expressions changed drastically, and they turned to run. Was the self-destruction of a perfect stage dominator a joke? Apart from a dominator weapon, no one could block it. It could be said that with the self-destruction of the fire dragon's strength, not only the inner region, even the central region would suffer a devastating disaster. Chapter 3394. Faster! Wang Changyuan urged. Feeling the overwhelming aura behind him, he was terrified to the extreme. I've already activated the instant time, how do you want me to be faster? Pei Tianhong was also extremely anxious. Even if he activated the instant time, he still couldn't dodge the aura. Because they were too close. He had never expected that the fire dragon would explode its physical body at the slightest disagreement. But at this moment, the horsetail whisk released a terrifying aura that forcefully wiped away the shockwaves from the fire dragon's self-destruction. The inner area instantly calmed down. So close. Pei Tianhong, Frenzy, and Wang Changyuan stopped and turned to look in the direction of the self-destruction. Their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. Luckily they had the horsetail whisk, otherwise they would have been in big trouble. Shwa! The three of them turned back and headed towards the self-destruction. But before they arrived, the horsetail whisk flew towards them. What happened to you? Seeing the horsetail whisk break in two, Frenzy and the other two revealed a look of shock. Let's go. The horsetail whisk didn't reply, it just swept up the three of them and headed outside. The three of them looked at each other. What happened when the horsetail whisk chased after the golden spear and the fire dragon's divine soul? One had to know. If one wanted to break a sovereign weapon, the golden spear alone wouldn't be able to do it. There had to be at least two. Even super forces like the Demon Palace didn't have two or more sovereign weapons. What secrets were hidden in the inner area and core area of the Yin Demon Land? Wait. When the fire dragon self-destructed, did you see the golden-robed youth? Frenzy suddenly looked at the horsetail whisk and asked. Yes. The horsetail whisk replied. Then is he dead? Frenzy asked. No. Let's not worry about that now, let's run for our lives. The Horsedale Whisk's tone was gloomy and carried a sense of fear. Run for our lives? Frenzy and the other two looked at each other, they were even more shocked. Even the Horsedale Whisk was so afraid. Could it be that the so-called dragons were really the nest of the ice dragon? Because in the world, only the ice dragon could make a sovereign weapon so afraid. A dozen breaths later. The Horsedale Whisk brought the frenzied one and the other two out of the inner area. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf immediately went to meet them. When they saw the Horsedale Whisk's current appearance, they were immediately surprised. The Horsedale Whisk still didn't explain. It swept up Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and fled without looking back. What happened? The white-eyed wolf looked at the trio suspiciously. We don't know either. It was like this when it came back. Madman shook his head. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the Horsedale Whisk before looking at the trio and asking, what about the fire dragon and the young man? The fire dragon has already self-destructed. The young man should still be alive. Madman shook his head. That's right. Why was there such a terrifying fluctuation in the inner region earlier? So it was self-destructing. White-eyed wolf was suddenly enlightened. He and Qin Feiyang were standing at the edge, so they could naturally feel the fluctuation from the fire dragon's self-destruction. Madman glanced at the Horsedale Whisk and sighed, from the looks of it, it should have seen something shocking. But no matter how we asked, it wouldn't say anything. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment before handing over the 3-foot-long thin sword. This broken divine artifact had already been reconstructed, but it would take a long time to completely repair it. Let me ask you, who were the fire dragon and the golden-clothed young man? And the dragons they spoke of, as well as the core area of the Yin Demon Land, in short, I want to know everything. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Sigh. The 3-foot-long thin sword pondered for a bit, then let out a deep sigh and said, you have provoked a big problem this time. In the core area of the Yinma land, there is a name unknown to the world. This name is the Dragon Nest. Dragon's Nest? Qin Feiyang and the others were surprised. That's right. The 3-foot-long thin sword responded and then said, this dragon's nest, boom. However, just as it opened its mouth, a terrifying aura descended above the group of people. This aura, Qin Feiyang and the others' eyes trembled as they suddenly raised their heads to look. They saw a hazy figure standing in the void above, emitting a terrifying pressure. Not to mention Qin Feiyang and the others, even the Horsedale Whisk couldn't help but tremble. It's you. Qin Feiyang spoke. But that person didn't answer. He pointed his finger in the air and everything in this place immediately entered a state of stillness. Following closely. That person landed in front of Qin Feiyang with a single step and grabbed the 3-feet-long thin sword. With a slight exertion of strength in his hand, the 3-feet-long thin sword was destroyed on the spot along with a miserable shriek. Just as the 3-foot-long thin sword was destroyed, everything returned to normal. That person didn't move and stood in front of Qin Feiyang. After regaining their freedom, the Horsedale Whisk, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, Frenzy, and the white-eyed wolf immediately retreated. But Qin Feiyang didn't move. He looked at the dust of the 3-foot-long thin sword and then looked at the person in front of him. His hands were tightly clenched together. What's wrong? You want to kill me? That person spoke with a very familiar voice. It was Ice Dragon. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Unfortunately, your strength isn't enough. Ice Dragon shook his head. This wasn't the first time it transformed into a human form. The last time it appeared in hell, it was also in a human form. However, both times it was impossible to see its true appearance. Yes. But I believe that sooner or later, I will be able to defeat you. Qin Feiyang said word by word, his tone full of determination. Your courage is commendable. However, before you fight with me, you have to save your life first. Ice Dragon smiled faintly. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Because of some reasons, I really can't kill you myself, but I can call others to kill you. For example, the dragons that you know now. Originally, this fated battle between you and the dragons wouldn't start so soon. It means that if you didn't enter the Yin Demon Land, then you could still grow outside for a while. Yet, you insisted on coming here and even forced a divine dragon to self-destruct. Do you know that you have now provoked a war with the dragons? Because they won't let you go. And because of your actions today, the Sky Cloud realm will soon fall into a bloody storm. Are you prepared to deal with it? Ice Dragon's tone was full of playfulness. I provoked a war with the dragons. Qin Feiyang was so angry that he laughed and shouted, think about it yourself. Who is it that keeps coming to make trouble again and again? Is this still important? Since it has already become like this, we have to put an end to it. Ice Dragon smiled faintly. Bloody storm, Qin Feiyang clenched his hands and said in a deep voice, it was like this in the ancient realm, and now it's the same in the Sky Cloud realm. This is clearly a personal grudge between you and me. Why do you have to involve others? This is war. Since you have chosen to be my enemy, then you have to accept this reality. Moreover, I didn't do anything. This is all a contest between you and them. I'm just a spectator. If I really wanted to interfere, do you think you can live until now? Ice Dragon smiled contemptuously. Isn't that because you're manipulating from behind? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Manipulating? Yes. The Ice Dragon Sacred Sword and the Dragon God Sword, these two sovereign divine weapons, were indeed sent to the Blood Palace by me, but other than that, what did I do? Back in the ancient realm, it was completely a contest between you and the dragons. I didn't intervene at all. Ice Dragon said indifferently. You're simply twisting words and forcing logic. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. I just want to know the relationship between the dragons here, the dragons in the ancient realm, and you. Qin Feiyang frowned. What do you think? Ice Dragon asked back. I think they should all be your people. Qin Feiyang said. There are countless divine dragons in the world. Are all of them my people? Ice Dragon smiled slyly. No. Qin Feiyang frowned. I can only tell you this. I can indeed order them. After all, who dares to disobey a powerful existence like me? But they are not under my rule, and I have no interest in doing anything. Ice Dragon said disdainfully. Then why are you here? Furthermore, he personally destroyed that divine artifact. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. There are some things that would be meaningless if I let you know now. Just treat it as me doing the dragons a small favor and silencing them. But then again, it's just a heaven-defying divine weapon. It's just an ant. So what if it's destroyed? As for why I'm here, this question is very interesting. Don't tell me I don't have a family. Ice Dragon chuckled. Family? Qin Feiyang was stunned. After pondering for a while, he asked in surprise, Revered Dragon and the rest are here too? You'll know when the time comes whether they're here or not. Besides, you know my wife's character. Sometimes, even I can't do anything to her. So, I don't need to tell you what she wants to do to you. I won't interfere with what happens next. What happens in the end will depend on your own abilities. Ice Dragon said indifferently. Qin Feiyang's eyes narrowed slightly as he asked, can I take it that you won't blame me even if I kill them right now? As long as you have the ability. Ice Dragon smiled meaningfully, then turned around and took a step forward, disappearing without a trace. Don't forget the 10,000-year agreement between you and Boss Frog. It has been looking forward to it. Ice Dragon's ethereal voice came over. Boss Frog? Qin Feiyang was startled. What was that? It should be that small beast. It looks like a bullfrog. The white-eyed wolf flew in front of Qin Feiyang and said. Bullfrog? Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Don't you think so? The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Yes, it does. Qin Feiyang laughed out loud. The 10,000-year agreement. He had not forgotten about this. However, when he thought of this, he couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. Because when he was facing the small beast back then, in a moment of desperation, he said that he only needed 1,000 years to defeat the small beast. In other words, the 1,000-year agreement. Chapter 3395. Although he said it casually because he was in a hurry, he also thought that he could do it in 1,000 years. But when he entered the sky cloud realm and stepped into the sovereign realm, he realized that it was a fool's dream to catch up to the small beast in 1,000 years. Fortunately, the small beast gave him 10,000 years and it became a 10,000-year promise. To be honest, even if it was 10,000 years, Qin Feiyang didn't have much confidence now. Unless the time array of the Black Tortoise realm evolved again. But to evolve again, he needed to find the fire Qilin. But now, he didn't even know where the fire Qilin was. But no matter what, he would do his best for the 10,000-year promise. Because this was the only chance to take back Changshui. What 10,000-year promise? Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were also relieved. They flew to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at the white-eyed wolf and madman. Back then, little Qin Zi and small beast agreed to fight 10,000 years later. If Ice Dragon didn't mention it now, I would have almost forgotten about it. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Pei Tianhong and madman heard this and looked at Qin Feiyang's back. Their eyes couldn't help but have a trace of admiration. Ice Dragon was already so strong, let alone small beast. Young master dared to fight with it. This courage was indeed amazing. Qin Feiyang collected his thoughts and turned to look at the two of them. Seeing their expressions, he shook his head and smiled bitterly. Don't look at me with that kind of expression. I was completely forced at that time. Who would want to challenge such a monster? Pei Tianhong and madman looked at each other and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Yes. Experts like Ice Dragon and Small Beast, not to mention fighting, just standing there was enough to make people's hearts jump. But no matter what, Qin Feiyang's courage made them feel ashamed. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath and his eyes became sharp. He looked at the three people and one wolf and said, "You all heard what Ice Dragon said before." Yes. The three men and one wolf nodded. It seems that we have poked a hornet's nest this time. But even if it's a hornet's nest, a fire can burn it to death. Moreover, the Ice Dragon has said that he will not interfere in the following matters, so we can completely let go and deal with these so-called dragons to the end. Qin Feiyang sneered. His eyes became sharper and sharper, like sharp blades. A battle with the dragons of the sky cloud realm, the white-eyed wolf muttered and grinned. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Exciting? Previously, the Ice Dragon also said that the Fire Dragon is only a member of the dragons. The so-called member is just an ordinary divine dragon. Even an ordinary divine dragon is so powerful, not to mention the upper echelons of the dragons. This is a colossus that we can't afford to offend. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were speechless. What are you afraid of? Let's do it. Isn't your blood hall also a colossus in the eyes of the world? In the end, you were still defeated by us. Look at your cowardice, just looking at you makes me angry. The white-eyed wolf despised them. Okay, it's our fault, the two hurriedly apologized, the bitter smile on their faces became stronger. This wasn't cowardice, but judging the situation. After all, they weren't facing a small force, but a powerful race hidden in the Yin Demon land. Wasn't there a saying like this? Caution is the parent of safety. It's a pity that the heaven-defying artifact was destroyed. Otherwise, if we knew the situation of the dragons, we could be prepared in advance. Now, the only thing we know is the dragon nest. This is the name of a place. It's meaningless. Pei Tianhong sighed. There's no hurry. Since the ice dragon has said so, it won't be long before the dragon race takes the initiative to look for us. At that time, we will naturally know what the situation is. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, then looked at the white-eyed wolf and madman. And this time, we should be able to see an old friend. Old friend, madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other, their eyes were filled with anticipation. What old friend? Wang Changyuan was curious. It's the son of the ice dragon. The white-eyed wolf said. What? The son of the ice dragon is your friend? Wang Changyuan was shocked. What kind of understanding is this? Saying that he's an old friend, is he really a friend? The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Ha, Wang Changyuan smiled embarrassedly. However, this prince of the dragons is indeed a good person. It's just that our standpoints are different, and we are destined to be enemies for life. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Wang Changyuan and madman looked at each other. It wasn't easy to get such a high evaluation from the white-eyed wolf. They couldn't help but look forward to it. Wang Changyuan looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, then young master, where are we going now? Now, Qin Feiyang murmured and suddenly turned to look at the inner area. Seeing this action, Pei Tianhong, Wang Changyuan, and even the horsetail whisk next to him couldn't help but become nervous. Was he planning to continue to the inner area? Qin Feiyang looked at the inner area and a light flashed in his eyes. He then turned his head and when he saw Wang Changyuan and madman's expression, his face was slightly stunned. Immediately, he couldn't help but laugh and waved his hand, don't be so nervous. I'm not going to find the dragon nest. I just want to enter the inner area and see if I can find the inheritance of the law force. I see. The two of them and the horsetail whisk heaved a sigh of relief. The fire dragon was able to find so many law inheritances in such a short period of time. I guess there are quite a lot of them here. The two of you don't need it, but senior brother Madman and I are lacking this the most. So, I want to enter and try my luck. Qin Feiyang said. Pei Tianhong and Madman were helpless. This was knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, but they still wanted to go there. I'm lacking it too. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly spoke, as if he was afraid that he would forget about it. You. Even if you find the inheritance, would you want it? Qin Feiyang pursed his lips. Of course not. But maybe if we're lucky, we can find the inheritance of the supreme profound meaning of the strongest law. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Wait. Madman raised his eyebrows and hurriedly looked at the white-eyed wolf. If we really want to find the inheritance of the supreme profound meaning of the strongest law, you can't snatch it from us. On what basis? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. Nonsense. You can directly snatch the law force of others, but old Qin and I need to comprehend it ourselves. Do you know how difficult that is? Look at yourself. You already have 3 ultimate laws, and they're all paramount profundities. However, old Qin and I each have 1 ultimate law each. As for paramount profundities, we don't even have one. Aren't you embarrassed to fight with us? Madman didn't hide his disdain. Then according to what you said, even if I go in with you and work hard, I won't have a share. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Of course. In any case, if you want to snatch it, go snatch it from others. Don't try to snatch it from us. Madman said. Then why should I go in? You guys can go in. I won't go in. The white-eyed wolf roared. You, Madman was instantly infuriated and said, Old Qin called you a thankless wretch and he wasn't wrong. We risked our lives to help you snatch the power of laws and now you're filled with resentment. Is there anyone like you? This brother is like this, so what? The white-eyed wolf snorted and turned his head away. Fine, I can't afford to offend you, but I can hide. Goodbye. After saying that, Madman flew toward the inner area. This, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at Madman, then at the white-eyed wolf, and finally at Qin Feiyang. It's noisy and lively. You'll get used to it. Qin Feiyang smiled and let the horsetail whisk enter his Qi to recuperate before chasing after Madman. You're really not going? Wang Changyuan and Pei Tianhong looked at each other and asked the white-eyed wolf. Not going, not going. The white-eyed wolf waved his claws. Okay then, be careful. The two of them warned each other and then chased after Qin Feiyang. Damn! You're really not going to care about me? You useless bastards, wait for me. The white-eyed wolf looked back and saw the four of them entering the inner area. He roared in anger and hurriedly chased after them. The inner area. After the battle ended, dead silence was restored. The power of the Yin demon was like a mist that could not dissipate, enveloping everything. Inside the barrier formed by the power of the blood demon, Qin Feiyang's group and the white-eyed wolf carefully looked around. At this moment, Madman had returned to normal. Seeing that there was no movement around, the white-eyed wolf looked back at Madman and asked suspiciously, "Little Madman, other than the ability to transform, do you have any other abilities?" Other? Madman was slightly surprised and laughed, of course. What ability? The white-eyed wolf was curious. There are many. For example, flying in the sky, burrowing into the ground, calling the wind and summoning the rain. Why do you think the heavens are taking care of me? Is it because I'm too handsome and too outstanding? It seems that being handsome and outstanding is also a kind of trouble. Madman shook his head and looked helpless. Will you die if you don't pretend? The white-eyed wolf originally thought that he had some other ability, but after listening to him, it was completely different. Ha! Madman grinned and said, I don't have any other abilities, but I'm satisfied. Even if I face old Wang now, I can still fight him. Wang Changyuan was stunned. Keep bragging, he's little Wang, but he still has a supreme profound. The white-eyed wolf smiled in disdain. That's right, I can't beat him, but he can't kill me either. Madman looked at the white-eyed wolf proudly and said, let's not talk about old Wang, let's talk about you. Don't think that you're awesome just because you have 3 supreme profound. If I want to beat you up, it's just a matter of minutes. Then why don't you try? The white-eyed wolf was not convinced. Don't try, otherwise you'll have to kneel down and beg for mercy. It's quite embarrassing. Madman grinned. Do I look like I'm scared? The white-eyed wolf sneered. But to be honest, facing the transformed Madman, he really did not have much confidence. After all, even the fire dragon, who had grasped 2 supreme profound, could not beat this guy to death. Qin Feiyang asked, Senior brother, is there any limit to your transformation ability? Yes. Once a day, for an hour each time. Madman shook his head regretfully. Isn't that the same as little Qin Zi's slaughter domain? The white-eyed wolf laughed gloatingly. That's why it's a little troublesome. Do you think there's a limit to such a powerful thing? Madman's face was unhappy. If there were no limits, how comfortable would it be? He could beat up whoever he was unhappy with. Chapter 3396. I don't know about your transformation ability, but if the slaughter domain doesn't have a limit, then there's no reason. The white-eyed wolf pouted. The slaughter domain wasn't something that could be described as heaven-defying. Now, they could be considered to have seen a lot of things, but they had never seen such a ridiculous thing on anyone else. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan both nodded in agreement. Although the slaughter domain is heaven-defying, the price to use it isn't small. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. The amount of blood he had absorbed so far was probably more than the entire black tortoise world could contain. This wasn't a small matter. If it wasn't for the fact that he had an independent world and so many living beings supporting him, would he be able to open the slaughter domain and fight against a sovereign weapon? Dream on. That's true. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked at the mad scientist. After you transform, although your combat power isn't as good as the slaughter domain, at least you won't absorb blood like the slaughter domain. How is it not as good as the slaughter domain? It's incomparable. The mad scientist shook his head and smiled bitterly. No matter how strong he was after transforming, it wasn't even 1/10 of a sovereign weapon. But the slaughter domain was an existence that could compete with a sovereign weapon. They weren't even on the same level. I understand how you feel. But there's nothing we can do. Who told us to meet such a monster? The white-eyed wolf patted the mad scientist's shoulder and sighed. Cough cough. Qin Feiyang coughed and said speechlessly, you guys aren't any better. Ask old Pei and old Wang, what do they think of you guys? The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf paused and looked at the two suspiciously. Pei Tianhong and the mad scientist looked at each other and smiled bitterly. There's nothing to say. In short, they're all monsters. Huh, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other helplessly. Compared to Qin Feiyang, they were nothing. Why were they monsters in the eyes of these people? Wait. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and stopped in the air. What's wrong? Everyone thought that there was an enemy and immediately scanned their surroundings vigilantly. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Why were they all so paranoid? He looked at Madman and said, take off your shoes. What do you mean? Madman was startled. He looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang and asked, don't tell me you have such a hobby. Let me tell you, I'm not interested in men. Just take it off when I tell you to. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. The madman grinned and kicked his feet, causing his shoes to fall off. Qin Feiyang covered his nose and said, raise the soles of your feet. What kind of expression is that? Do my feet stink? Madman glared at him angrily. He raised his foot and pointed it at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's eyes suddenly trembled. What's the situation? White-eyed wolf, Pei Tianhong, and Wang Changyuan walked to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at Madman's feet. They didn't know if they didn't look, but they were shocked when they saw it. There was actually a blood-colored pattern on Madman's feet. What's wrong? Madman looked at Qin Feiyang's group and the white-eyed wolf's expressions. His brows were full of doubts. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and looked at Madman strangely. He pinched his nose and looked closer. The white-eyed wolf was the same. His eyes were filled with a strange light. The pattern on the soles of his feet was in the shape of a pentagram. Inside, half of it was like a waning moon. The other half was like a sun. The two combined to form a pattern of a sun and a moon. Little Qin Zi, look at this waning moon. Doesn't it look familiar? The white-eyed wolf stretched out his claws and scratched the waning moon on the pattern. Madman couldn't help but laugh out loud. It looks like the evil moon. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at the other half. It looked a bit like the evil sun, evil moon. Evil sun. The man and the wolf looked at each other. They remembered the marks on the blood demon's feet. One foot was the evil moon, and the other was the evil sun. In other words, the two were separate. But now, the mark on Madman's feet. How did the evil moon and evil sun come together? Qin Feiyang looked up at Madman and said, raise your other foot. Madman nodded. When he raised his other foot, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf found that there was an identical sun and moon mark on the soles of their feet. It seemed to be condensed from blood and emitted an incomparably evil aura. This mark is exactly the same as the blood demon's mark. The only difference is that the evil moon and evil sun of the blood demon race are one on each foot, while his mark is pieced together. Is this why he can transform? The white-eyed wolf turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked. It should be. Qin Feiyang nodded. What mark? What blood demon race? What are you guys talking about? Madman looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf in confusion. Take a look yourself. Qin Feiyang stood up and said. Madman lifted his foot and looked down. When he saw the sun and moon mark, he was stunned. When did it appear? Why didn't he feel anything? I remember that back then in the ancient city of Qingyu, because you could absorb the evil force, I saw your souls, but there wasn't this sun and moon mark at that time. In other words, this mark should have appeared when your divine power evolved into the blood demon's power. Qin Feiyang analyzed. In that case, I am really related to the blood demon race? Madman raised his eyebrows. Most likely. Qin Feiyang nodded. No wonder I can transform, Madman muttered. After pondering for a while, he looked at Qin Feiyang in the white-eyed wolf and asked, since that's the case, the mystery of my origin should be in hell, right? Not necessarily. The Yin demon's power here can transform you, which means that this place must be related to you. Perhaps, you are really the reincarnation of the blood demon race's ancestor. In your previous life, you might have lived in the Tianyun world. Qin Feiyang guessed. Don't, the blood demon race is so ugly. Madman had a look of disdain. It's after transforming, okay? What's the difference between a blood demon race without transforming and us ordinary people? The only difference is that they are a bit taller and stronger. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Damn. A brat is already 4 to 5 meters tall, and it's only a bit. Madman cursed. Every blood demon race member was like a giant. This was especially true for adult blood demons, who were over 10 meters tall or even dozens of meters tall. Although you are right, what's the difference between you and an ordinary person now? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. What if you grow up in the future? Madman asked. Scram. Do you think you are still a brat? That you can still grow? Qin Feiyang was speechless to the extreme. What was he thinking? Even if he was the reincarnation of the blood demon race's ancestor, he had already reincarnated as a human. No matter what, he wouldn't change. Unless he transformed. But if it was fine, why would he transform? To scare a child? He had heard of it. Madman smiled embarrassedly. What he said made sense. It seemed that he was worrying too much and was scaring himself. Blood demon race. Reincarnation. Wang Changyuan and Madman became more and more confused. What were these things? The white-eyed wolf looked at Madman and asked, then, now that you are in the Yin demon land, can you still feel that kind of familiar calling from before? Yes. And after the god power evolved into the blood demon's power, this feeling became much stronger. Madman nodded. Where is it? The white-eyed wolf asked. Over there. Madman raised his head and pointed in a direction. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked over and their mouths twitched. The direction Madman was pointing at was the core area of the Yin demon land. There was actually something in the core area that was calling this fellow. What could it be? Although I don't know what it is, I have a feeling that it is very important to me. Madman said. So what if it is important? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and smiled bitterly. It was clear that the core area was where the dragon's nest was. Although the ice dragon wouldn't interfere, just by looking at the fire dragon's strength, they knew that the dragon's nest was really a tiger's den. No rush. We will be able to kill our way in sooner or later. Madman waved his hand. Then let's continue. Qin Feiyang said. Wang Changyuan nodded. After Madman put on his shoes, He led the group and continued to fly deeper. "There is one more question," the white-eyed wolf suddenly looked at Madman and asked, "When you transformed earlier, it was because of the Een demon power that you couldn't die. What if you didn't have the Een demon power? How would I know? Right now, I am confused." Madman rolled his eyes. Even if he didn't have the Een demon power and couldn't obtain an undying body, with his transformed strength, he could fight against a peak dominator. It is already very heaven-defying. Pei Tianhong shook his head. It was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. It was hard not to be envious. Actually, it shouldn't be only the Een demon power that allowed him to obtain an undying body. It should be the evil power too. Qin Feiyang guessed. "The key is outside. Where are you going to find the evil power?" the white-eyed wolf asked. "That's true." Qin Feiyang nodded. Until now, they had only seen the evil power in Nether King Hell. Pei Tianhong suddenly said, "Actually, the evil power is everywhere." "Everywhere?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. "That's right. Everything that is evil will give birth to evil aura. Take us humans for example. Everyone has an evil side. As long as this side is revealed, evil aura will appear. Evil is a kind of emotion. For example, killing intent, evil intent, etc. They can all be considered evil aura. We usually can't feel it because we are already used to it. Furthermore, the level of the evil aura is far from the level of the Een devil's power. That's right. Even the Een demon power can be considered an evil energy. Pei Tianhong explained. Then, doesn't that mean I can absorb the evil power anytime and anywhere? Madman was suspicious. According to common sense, it should be so. However, your current situation is somewhat beyond common sense. Thus, you have to verify it yourself before you can truly be certain. Pei Tianhong smiled faintly. That makes sense. Madman nodded. Of course. If what I said is true, you can absorb all the evil power outside. But the effect is definitely not as good as absorbing the Een demon power and the evil power that you guys mentioned. Pei Tianhong said. That's for sure. Madman nodded. After all, whether it was the evil power or the Een demon power, they had reached the point where they could be seen with the naked eye. But the evil power outside was like the essence of heaven and earth. It was scattered throughout the world. To absorb it, one had to gather it first. However, although the effect was not as good as the evil power or the Een demon power, if he could really absorb it, it would definitely be of great help to him in future battles. Chapter 3397. In the blink of an eye, half a day passed. Qin Feiyang and the others had been to many places, but not to mention law inheritances, they didn't even see a shadow. The entire inner area was so quiet that it was scary. Wang Changyuan raised his eyebrows and said, "Young master, we can't continue to search like this." In the endless black fog, they were like headless flies. Even if there were law inheritances in the inner area, if they continued to search like this, who knows how long it would take. Because it was completely based on luck. I also know that it won't be easy to find it like this, but what can I do? As for the inner area, I'm the same as you guys, I know nothing about it. Qin Feiyang was helpless. But just as he finished speaking, Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment before angrily slapping his head. Why did I ignore it? Who? The three of them and the white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, and with a thought, a black light rushed out from his body. It was the supreme-grade divine artifact, the dagger. Yeah. How could we forget about it? The three of them and the white-eyed wolf also slapped their heads in annoyance. They had completely forgotten about the dagger. This dagger was following the 10th Elder's son, and this son of the 10th Elder was the Fire Dragon's subordinate. In that case, the dagger must have a good understanding of the inner area. Why are you all looking at this lord like this? Looking at everyone's eyes, the dagger was a little scared. Why don't you just tell us directly, are there many law inheritances in the inner area? The madman said. Yes. The dagger replied. Hearing this, the eyes of the 4 people and 1 wolf lit up. Where are these inheritances? The madman asked. Naturally, they are scattered in every corner of the inner area. In fact, it's not difficult to find the inheritance, but it's not that easy to obtain it. The artifact spirit chuckled. What do you mean? The madman was suspicious. When you find it, you will naturally know. The artifact spirit smiled mysteriously and then said, coincidentally, I also know that there is a place of inheritance nearby, why don't I take you there? There's one nearby. 4 people and 1 wolf were bewildered. Not bad. The artifact spirit replied. Then what's there to say? Quickly point the way. The white-eyed wolf urged. The artifact spirit said, fly southwest. It'll take about half a day. What the hell? The white-eyed wolf glared at him and said angrily, it's only half a day's journey. How can this be called nearby? Don't make a fuss. The inner region is at least 5 to 6 times larger than the central region. Without any special means, it will take you at least half a year to cross the inner region and reach the core region. The artifact spirit said calmly. Half a year. The 4 people and 1 wolf looked at each other in dismay. This was too far. Wait. Since it took half a year, how did the old man in red and the golden-haired youth get here so quickly? Madman was suspicious. That's why we need special methods. I'm not too sure about the specifics, but I've heard from the fire dragon that there's a race in the core area that isn't restricted by the laws of the Yin demons. This race, I didn't know what it was in the past. But now I know that it's the dragons. In other words, the dragons can activate the space-time law here and can also activate the space-time teleportation artifact here. So it's very simple for them to rush here from the core area. The artifact spirit explained. So it's like this. Qin Feiyang and the others were enlightened. The white-eyed wolf looked at Madman and Pei Tianhong and asked, since they can activate the space-time law and the space-time teleportation artifact here, why didn't they activate it when you were chasing them? The 2 of them definitely don't have the space-time law. As for the space-time teleportation artifact, it needs time to activate it. In that situation where they were racing against time, if they dared to activate the space-time teleportation artifact, with old Pei's speed, he would definitely be able to catch up to them. At that time, they wouldn't be able to escape. So, it's better to waste time with us and slowly find an opportunity. Madman sneered. Actually, they're stupid too. At that time, if the fire dragon could be more ruthless and activate the forbidden technique to imprison the 3 of you, then he would have enough time to activate the space-time legendary artifact. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. What do you think a forbidden technique is? Forbidden techniques have their limits too. Basically, every high-level forbidden technique is the same as Slaughter Domain and Little Madman's transformation. They can only be activated once a day. Let's talk about it later. At that time, they didn't expect the horsetail whisk to come back so quickly. They thought that if they continued to waste time with us, they would definitely find an opportunity. Pei Tianhong said. The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned and smiled, so it's like this. Sorry, I haven't mastered the forbidden technique and don't understand this common sense. Let's not talk about this first. Let's go. Qin Feiyang couldn't wait. Actually, you don't have to be so careful now. The fire dragon's underlings have all been wiped out. As for the legendary specter, it's just a rumor. The artifact spirit added. According to what you said, there's not a single living creature in the inner area now? Wang Changyuan asked. Not necessarily. I didn't know about dragons in the past, but now I know. Perhaps, this inner area is the training ground of the dragons. The artifact spirit guessed. What? The training ground of the dragons? Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked. Then, wouldn't there be many members of the dragons here? I'm just guessing. Because I didn't stay in the inner area for long. Even if I'm in the inner area, I'll stay in the outer area. The artifact spirit said. Outer area? The 4 men and 1 wolf were stunned. Yes. The inner area is divided into 2 areas. Outer area and inner area. In the past, all the fire dragon's underlings stayed in the outer area. Moreover, the fire dragon once gave a death order that no one or beast is allowed to step into the inner area. Therefore, I'm not sure about the situation in the inner area. As for the core area, it's needless to say. In our eyes, that's a legendary place. The artifact spirit said. So that's how it is. The white-eyed wolf suddenly smiled and looked at the madman and Qin Feiyang. He bared his teeth and said, maybe this is really the dragon race's training ground. Madman laughed, since we've already formed a grudge, we might as well kill a few of them and bring them back for everyone to drink. Good idea. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other and were speechless. These two were really fearless. Don't panic. Ice Dragon already said that he won't interfere in the future. What are we afraid of? If we can win, we'll do it. If we can't, we'll run. The white-eyed wolf waved his claws and had an indifferent attitude. All right. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan nodded. It seemed that they had to train their courage after following this group. Otherwise, they would be looked down upon by the white-eyed wolf every day. Then let's go. Wang Changyuan waved his hand and brought the group with him. He used his supreme support divine technique and flew southwest. Since there were no more fire dragon's claws, it didn't matter. Normal speed would take half a day, but with a supreme support divine technique, it wouldn't take so long. Around 2 hours later, they stopped in front of a valley. The inheritance ground is inside. The artifact spirit appeared and turned into a blurry figure as he pointed at the valley. Let's go. The white-eyed wolf was the first to charge into the valley. Qin Feiyang and the others were about to follow, but they were stopped by the artifact spirit. What's wrong? The 4 looked at him in confusion. Impatience won't help. The artifact spirit smiled mysteriously. While speaking, the white-eyed wolf had already charged to the entrance of the valley. It wasn't afraid of the Yin demon's power, so it didn't matter even if it wasn't inside the barrier. When he reached the entrance of the valley, the white-eyed wolf didn't stop and directly charged into the valley. Boom! But at this moment, at the entrance, a golden light screen suddenly appeared. The white-eyed wolf bumped into it and saw stars. Ugh! Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. So there was a barrier. No wonder the artifact spirit didn't let them go forward. He wanted to see the white-eyed wolf make a fool of himself. What's going on? The white-eyed wolf was stunned as he looked up at the golden light. Buzz! At this moment, the entire valley, including the sky above, was filled with golden divine light. Finally, a golden barrier appeared and enveloped the valley, emitting a dazzling light. There's a barrier. The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment before he turned around and glared at the artifact spirit. He roared, "Why didn't you tell me earlier? You're the one who's anxious, and you're blaming me." The artifact spirit was speechless. Just you wait. Wait for me to break this barrier, then I'll deal with you. The white-eyed wolf glared at the artifact spirit fiercely, then directly activated the supreme profoundness of the space-time law and the death law. Seeing this, the artifact spirit's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. However, no one noticed it because he was just a blurry figure, and no one could see his face clearly. Boom! The two supreme profoundness attacked with a loud bang. However, the barrier didn't even budge, let alone break. What? The white-eyed wolf was dumbfounded. What the hell is this? It's too tough. Boom. It wasn't convinced and once again activated its supreme profoundness, bombarding it with attacks. The result was the same. The golden barrier was like a stubborn rock. If it trembled, it would be considered as a loss. Qin Feiyang was also a little stunned. He looked at the artifact spirit and said, "This is the difficulty you mentioned." "Yes. You can find it, but you may not be able to get it." The artifact spirit nodded. "Brother Wolf, I'll help you." Wang Changyuan glanced at the artifact spirit and shouted in a low voice. He also rushed out of the barrier and landed beside the white-eyed wolf. Boom! The supreme profoundness of the thunder law was activated. The white-eyed wolf also activated two supreme profoundness again. Shatter! As the man and the wolf roared, the three supreme profoundness aggressively bombarded the golden barrier. This time, with a loud bang, the golden barrier trembled a little. However, it only trembled for a moment before it returned to normal. No waves appeared. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.